Place to be, nation. Welcome back and join us once again on the highway to the Impact Zone. I am your host, Logan Crosland, and I would like to thank you for joining us for episode number 28, where we'll be discussing our fourth monthly pay-per-view, Against All Odds 2005. Let me now bring in my co-host and student, and the guy who no longer gaps his hair, Jake Williams. How you doing, Jake?
I cannot confirm or deny that. I no longer got my hair. I'm doing good, Logan. So, Logan, I think we should settle this here. We haven't talked about it yet, but since we're the two permanent members, I think that makes us TNA and West. So we need to decide which one of us is TNA and which one's West.
Oh, man.
I'm assuming you're TNA because he's more the captain of the ship.
Yeah, I think I'd have to be TNA. You're a little bit more of a wild card, so I think you definitely fit the Don West, the Don West name there.
Similar cocaine intake. Yeah.
Exactly.
I should say, now you might have been mentioning this in a second, but while we're on the topic, we should probably give best wishes to our pal Don West, who's going through some medical issues right now, I believe. So we're hoping for him to recover, to get through it quickly, because obviously we joke about him a lot, but we love Don. He's he seems like a generally pretty good guy. So wishing a speedy recovery to Don.
Yeah, I was just say as maniacal as we act like he is sometimes. Yeah, he's really good at his job deep down, and he's a great guy from all the things I've heard. So yeah, definitely speedy recovery to him for sure. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that right off the top there. So thank you for that. But now we'll bring in our experts. First, we have the captain of the Chicken Salad Express and the guy who's been enjoying a couple of weeks off from work, Ben Locke. How you doing, Ben?
Take a look at me now. There's just an empty space. And there's nothing left here to remind me, just the memory of your face. Take a look at me now. Well, there's just an empty space. And you're coming back to me is against all the odds. And that's what I've got to face. Oh, wait a minute. Is this the Phil Collins podcast?
Yeah, I was going to say, you sounded like Shakespeare there for a second. I was wondering what was going on.
I thought I was on the Phil Collins. Sorry, Logan. I thought it was on the Phil Collins podcast. I can only apologise. Yes, this is the end of my 2 weeks off, so the beers are flowing, and hopefully we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I got you. I think the Phil Collins podcast is next Friday, so.
Okay, I'm Scotty. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Good to have you back on, Ben, of course. Secondly, we have my best pal and the guy who's enjoying a couple of months off from work in Florida. Lewis, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. That's the one real bright side of teaching is these long summers off. You gotta get every second of that as you can.
Yeah, definitely. I know my wife's enjoying it right now. And I'm sure Jake is as well. But yeah, I know it's a super nice time to have a little bit of a break from the crazy kids.
And just for the people listening to this show, if Logan and I are ever distracted at any point during the night, it's because Mississippi State is playing Texas in the College World Series right now.
Yeah, I was just say if I have a mental lapse at some point, it's because I'm slightly distracted. But I'm gonna kind of try and keep it in the zone. But as it's a pay-per-view, we have a special guest with us. She is the queen of Place to Be Nation, and she is kind of crossing enemy lines tonight as she does a TNA show herself. Jennifer Smith, how you doing, Jenny?
Hey, boys. I will not stand for any distractions during this super serious TNA podcast, so might as well shut the baseball off. And God, since when has Phil Collins ever been compared with Shakespeare? It's genius. That's what it is. But I'm excited to be here with you guys.
What'd you say, Ben?
I said, has she never heard Susudio? He's the modern day Shakespeare as Phil.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's a genius comparison.
And that Tarzan movie, very Shakespearean.
Yeah.
that soundtrack is lit. But as I usually start out these pay-per-view shows when we have guests, I would usually ask if what your experience is with TNA were, Jenny, but I'm pretty pretty sure I know the answer to that, and it's just what you've watched on TNA Never Dies. Am I correct?
That is correct. So that was the beginning in, 2003? No. 2002. Yeah. That's when we started. And we were like similar number of eps, I think 20 something in as well. So I'm doing a real leap. And I've not listened to you guys' podcasts because I didn't want to spoil myself for what's to come. So this is pretty much me going in blind on this here show.
Yeah.
Don't worry, literally nothing has changed since 2002 TNA.
Awesome.
Yeah, we still got Jeff Jarrett and AJ Styles on top, so nothing different.
Sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit better, but probably not much. But we'll go ahead and start on in the show. As per usual, we have a pretty sweet opening package narrated by what I said. It was great value. James Earl Jones, the guy's got the super deep voice and sounds super awesome. So I always love their opening packages. TNA then welcomes us into the Impact Zone, where he and Wes kind of run down the card, what we'll be seeing tonight, all the matches that we'll have happening throughout the night. We then go back to Shane Douglas, and he's outside Jeff Jarrett's locker room and says that some legal disputes are going on about the contract and the rules to the match as it pertains to kind of the guitar stuff that Dusty had stipulated on Impact the last show we did. He then kind of tosses it to Scott Hudson, who's outside of Kevin Nash's locker room, and he says that Kevin Nash has his posse in his locker room, but says he's super focused on becoming the champ. He kind of implies that his little posse is his longest yard castmates. He kind of implies that Sandler and Chris Rock and all those guys are there. But to start off, Jake, what do you think of the opening package and kind of these little hype ups for the main event?
Yeah, I'm sure these A-list celebrities are hang out in the Impact Zone. They have nothing better to do. Hang out with Kevin Nash in the Impact Zone. Larry comes out too. He has another great rayon shirt on with this one. It looked like he had like a off-brand Ghost Rider on his shirt, so that was always good. Yeah, it was so ridiculous with the. I think they say something about like heads of state and politicians and all these other people have come. It's absurd.
Yeah, they say something about the water boy, so it's kind of implying that it's Sandler. Sure. So it is so weird. But Ben, what do you think of the opening package and the kind of the stuff for the main event?
Great opening package. Don's shirt. We're going now for a recycling bin. We've passed the bin bag stage. We've gone straight for a recycling bin. That's what our recycling bins are here. I love the fact that with Mike and Scott and Shane's bit, they kept mentioning all these people that were in these locker rooms. The locker rooms were packed, and yet the only people you saw was the lawyer and Larry Zbyszko. It's like we could have at least had people, even some extras just coming in and out of each dressing room. But no, they're the only two people we've got.
Yeah, we weren't good enough to see Jarrett and Nash themselves, so we just got to stare at Shane Douglas and Scott Hudson's stupid asses. So, Lewis, what do you think of the opening package and the Scott Hudson, Shane Douglas stuff?
Again, like I do enjoy the TNA opening packages, especially for their pay-per-views. So it was just another good one for that. The whole opening gimmick with like trying to make us think that all the longest yard stars were in there with Kevin Nash, and like there were, I think they called it like delegations that were in Jeff Jarrett's locker room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The lawyer stuff throughout the entire night starts to get on my nerves, and really it's pointless. But they have to have some kind of little opening segment with Jeff Jarrett at all these pay-per-views, so it might as well be a lawyer trying to get him out of the match.
Yeah, I love how that's become a thing. Like last month they had one, and they followed it up again this month with another kind of opening interview or somebody standing outside Jarrett's locker room at least.
Which like the Elvis is in the car thing was dumb, but at least it had some funny moments in it.
Yeah, you're right. Jenny, what do you think?
So that was quite an extra little opening package, but I did enjoy it. Great value. James Earl Jones is great comparison as well. But what stands out to me here is fucking Shane Douglas. I had no idea that he was doing this role in TNA. I have complicated Shane Douglas feelings stemming from ECW, and so I just thought it was hilarious. And because he's unrecognizable to me as Shane Douglas, like it took me a full minute to figure out who it was. But look, I think that's a good spot for him. He's a good talker for the most part, even though he's full of shit. I could see him doing really well in this interview role here.
Yeah, we all have complicated feelings about Shane Douglas.
I figured you did.
You're not alone, trust me. When he's not having Tourette's, he's pretty okay, but most of the time he's like moving his shoulders around like a maniac. So
we tend to say he's a goober in this era. He's a goob.
He's a goober. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's good. It's probably better than what I've seen him trying to do.
Yeah, you're probably right. But from here, we're going to move on into our opening contest, and it's going to be an X Division shootout, and it's between Petey Williams, the former X Division champion, and then primetime Elix Skipper. To start the match, the two kind of trade some amateur wrestling holds and arm locks. Skipper eventually uses his speed and elusiveness to kind of get a drop kick in on Petey, which kind of sends Petey to the outside. Petey and D'Amore then kind of have a little session where they kind of talk out what they're going to do strategy-wise on the outside before Petey gets back in and kind of locks up with Primetime. Primetime then eventually continues to elude offense from Petey, kind of always ducking and, getting out of the way of what Petey's trying to do. But he hits a snapmare on Petey and then follows it up with a big kick to the back. He then goes for a body slam, but Petey kind of wiggles out of it and throws him to the outside. D'Amore actually then nails him with a punch on the outside. Petey then follows that with a slingshot Hurricane Rana to the outside. He gets him back in, and then he does my favorite little O Canada Tree of Woe, where he kind of steps on his balls in the corner. From there, Petey continues to wear down Primetime, and at one point, they do a really botched-looking sequence where they kind of keep missing each other, and it doesn't seem like they're on the same page. It kind of involves a weird dive that Petey does, and then possibly the worst atomic drop I've ever seen from Petey Williams. Petey then eventually climbs to the top rope, but Skipper shows off his athletic ability by kind of leaping to the top rope and then hitting a butterfly suplex from the top, which I thought was a really sweet move. Skipper then hits a series of big strikes, eventually leading to a leg drop where Petey's kind of hanging over the top rope. Petey then gets an elbow up and on a charge in the corner and then hits his little tilt-a-whirl Russian leg sweep. Skipper then scoops up Petey on a DDT attempt and straddles him on the top rope and goes for the tightrope Hurricane Rana, but D'Amore actually holds Petey's legs and Primetime actually falls straight to the mat. Petey then follows this with a big tornado DDT. He then tries to go for the Canadian Destroyer, but Skipper reverses, and then they kind of just trade pin attempts back and forth. Skipper then eventually puts Petey on the top turnbuckle and again attempts some kind of Hurricane Rana, but ends up missing once again. Petey then goes again for the Canadian Destroyer, but Skipper reverses it and hits a new move that Mike Tenay calls the sudden death, which is kind of an air raid crash kind of maneuver, and that gets Primetime the win. So, Jenny, what did you think of this X Division shootout to start the show?
Well, I love an X Division to start the show. Petey Williams is a terrible wrestler name. I don't know him, but I do know me some Elix Skipper, and I think it's funny that he's still trying to get into the X Division. Whatever he's trying to do. Like apparently there's some sort of deal with him and Dusty, but he's still working on breaking into the X Division like 3 years after I've seen him wrestle. So, not doing a lot, I suppose. I don't know. This match was okay. It was. They seemed to get a little lost towards the end. Like you said, with those kind of like a botched sequence there, and the sudden death was not impressive at all. not a great debut for that move, but maybe he just didn't hit it right. I'm about 2 2/4 on it. 2/4.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. I got
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I have real complicated relationship with Skipper because I just feel like I can see him thinking about whatever he's doing for the next move. Like I can see him like thinking about what he's about to do. So it just really it throws me off every time I watch one of his matches. But Lewis, what'd you think of this one?
I already kind of gave it away in our group chat earlier, but and I'm going to catch some flack for saying it now. I think up until the last 2 or 3 minutes of that match, it felt like an NXT TakeOver match to me. I was enjoying everything that was going on in it up until it was very clear that Skipper and maybe Petey, but definitely Skipper, was getting really gassed towards the end of the match. So there were a lot of mistakes happening. That sequence where they kept trying to pin each other, it was really slow and clanky and junky. When he had Petey up on the top ropes and tried to go for that enziguri that Petey just kind of leaned back on. Like the whole last 2-3 minutes of the match was really clunky and really brought down what I thought up until that point had been a really good match. I ended up giving it 3 stars because I think it was a decently average match, even though the last couple of minutes were really clunky.
Yeah, I got you. Ben, what'd you think?
I think it just shows like how much Elix needs somebody to help him. So, when he was in Triple X, he could hide behind Daniels, and in this match, he's got Will Petey who can basically hold his hand and get him through the match. And I'm kind of like where Lewis was. I was hovering around 3 stars until those last 3 or 4 minutes. The sudden death, like Jerry says, really isn't a great move. It's basically just a snowplow. Let's be honest. It's not the best move. I went 2 3/4 on it. Yeah, because those last couple of minutes just knocked it down for me.
Yeah, I gotcha. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same round. You could tell they were going for like a hot X Division opener, like kind of move fest, typical X Division match, but it didn't totally click, I think, how they wanted to. I mean, I still went 2.5 on it because there was some cool stuff in there, but it didn't quite. Like, I think 2.5 for these two guys, as athletic as they are, is probably a little bit disappointing. And yeah, we got our typical like Elix sloppiness that we're kind of used to, where he kind of does some cool stuff and then goes for some other stuff and fucks it up a little bit. And his matches are never like crisp, like what you would see like when we saw Petey and AJ, for example, like how crisp they were, or we're going to see later. It's he's just not as polished as the other X Division guys. And Petey seems to. I wasn't surprised Petey lost because I know they're trying to push the Triple X guys, but it is weird how quickly Petey has kind of fallen since he was the champion, the X Division champ, like not that long ago, and here he is like losing clean to Skipper, which is a little weird.
Yeah, I know they're trying to kind of push Skipper, but it's weird to see the champ, who was literally the champ a month ago, lose to a kind of a up and comer. And I'm with Jenny said something about Skipper's kind of in the same position in what she's watching as well. I think it's because they can't trust him because he's good and he's athletic, and I know that the pieces are there, but I think he just thinks about things too much, and he's in his own head. It seems like a lot. So
he's got that same problem that people like Shelton Benjamin and John Morrison do. Like they can have the coolest spots of a pay-per-view, but like there are times when they mess up 1 or 2 moves and then completely just get off track the rest of the match. They can't bring the pieces back together.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like he tries too hard, which isn't a problem per se, but like he does it like all the time. So
at some point you just got to get better. You know what I'm saying? Like
at some point you just got to focus on like actually hitting the moves instead of trying to be cool. So I think that's really his big problem. But I'm gonna agree with Jake. I'll go 2.5 on it. I thought it was a good match, but I could definitely see the pieces where it could have been better for sure, but it was still a pretty good match for the 2 competitors that we had in there. Go ahead.
The Morrison comparison is a very good one actually, because if you think about it, his best work is basically in a tag team because he can hide his deficiencies with his partner, can't he? It's exactly the same with Elix.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good comparison by Lewis for sure.
Yeah. Benjamin too, when he was with Charlie Haas.
Yeah, I was able. Yeah, I was at Benjamin. Yeah, you could say the same thing about him. But after this match, we go to a quote unquote highlight package. I put a question mark after it, but it's for the 3LK Jeff Hammond and Shane and Kaz feud. They kind of show all the stuff that's been happening against them. We get the NASCAR acronym again, the non-athletic sport centering around rednecks. I really love that.
Same.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really love when they said that for sure. But it leads straight into our next match, and it's going to be BG James and Jeff Hammond, and they take on Frankie Kazarian and Michael Shane. BG James and Kaz start things out, but Kaz quickly gets the tag into Shane because he kind of doesn't want any piece of BG. Shane kind of antagonizes Hammond to get in the match. So they both then get in and kind of get into a shoving match. They both shove each other down real quick. Hammond then busts out a little like sit out armbar that he does and tags back in BG as he's arm wrenching him. From there, they kind of keep Shane in the corner and continue to tag in and out, working the arm over. Shane eventually guides BG into the corner where Kaz gets a sneak kick in and gets tagged. They then double team BG in the corner for a bit. They eventually go for a double backdrop, but BG sees it coming and gets a boot up on both of them. He then gets Shane down and hits his little shimmy knee drop. After an unsuccessful pin attempt, BG stupidly keeps going in Shane and Kaz's corner, where they continuously cheat. Shane drop kicks BG to the outside, tags Kaz in, and he does a pretty awesome outside dive after he gets tagged in. Shane and Kaz from there then kind of wear BG down in the corner for a little bit longer. BG is eventually able to duck a double clothesline and hit one of his own. He tags in Hammond, who comes in and hits somewhat of a modified pounce. He just kind of runs into Kaz and kind of bashes him into Shane. He then throws Kaz to the opposite corner of the ring and kind of spears him into the corner. He begins kind of trash talking with Shane, and Kaz ends up hitting him from behind. BG then comes in and tries to make the save, but gets dumped to the outside. Kaz then holds Jeff so Michael Shane can hit the sweet and low chin music, but he ends up actually hitting Kaz, and then Hammond hits the pit stop for the win. So, Jake, what do you think of Hammond's match here?
So why was BG the partner? Why couldn't they let Truth be the partner? So we at least could have had like
why was this match?
Yeah, like we could at least have like some Truth and Kaz like going at each other. It might have been fun. Jeff Hammond's dressed like a fucking bushwhacker with his camo pants on and his little tank top. Looks like a goof.
I thought he was like a Truth Commission guy.
Jeff Hammond represents South Africa in the Truth Commission. But yeah, like to their credit, because I think it's what they had to do. But Kaz and Shane look like such I'll throw a Cajun word at you, couillons. They look like goofs in this match because like they're just constantly putting themselves in terrible positions. Like when he holds them for the super kick, like there was no reason for him to hold them except for Jeff Hammond to move. Like why couldn't he have just hit the kick? Like why did he have to hold them? Like I feel like they're like rotating around to make sure they fucked up, like to make sure they were in bad spots to get like to have 3LK like screw them over. I don't know, but it's kind of what they had to do, so I kind of give them credit for it. I want a half star just for Shane and Kaz for doing what they had to do, and that dive was pretty cool. But yeah, you could definitely see why Kaz was ready to hit the road after jobbing to a F-list celebrity here.
F- list celebrity. Yeah, there's no thought of why Kaz kind of leaves after this. So yeah, that definitely see what he was feeling there. But Ben, what do you think?
Couple of questions. One, who was that NASCAR guy who was at the top of the ramp and then decided to turn around before they could make a big deal out of it? It was like Mike's like, it's this NASCAR guy, he's great. But he's not there, Mike. We don't know who he is. Two, why, when he was doing his little intro, did BG not think of a team name before they'd come out and had to go to Jeff Hammond and said, have we got a name? No, we haven't. Oh, no. And three, much like what Jake said, just why? Why? I also went half a star, and that is purely because of Kaz and Shane and the dive. And farewell, Kaz. We hardly knew ye.
Yeah, he'll be back before too long, but he's definitely gone after this. But Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, some similar stuff there. At first, I was questioning why BG James was the one in this match. It kind of makes sense later at the end of the show. I don't want to spoil anything for that yet, but it's good to have BG James in a match prior in the pay-per-view for what happens later, just so you remember BG James's name and make some connections later on. The name stuff, I was going to bring that up like Ben brought up. It's on the back of your jersey, BG. It's the Pit Crew. Y'all already named yourself on your jersey.
Good Lord.
As far as people that can't wrestle being in matches goes, I hated the Mike Posey stuff when he was doing his thing with Young a few months ago, but I enjoyed this a little more, I think, than the Mike Posey stuff, but it's still not a good match. I only went 1 star on it.
Very low bar. The Mike Posey match.
Shit, Hammond's a real athlete, you son of a bitch.
Hey, Hammond can hit a pounce. Hammond can hit a pounce.
Have you seen that dad bod, for God's sake?
Man, he's ripped for a NASCAR analyst. I'll give him that. But Jenny, what do you think of your first sighting of Jeff Hammond here?
Well, I was disappointed to still see BG James in fucking TNA. But I mean, he does look a little bit more fit, not as fat as what I know him from. So I guess he's lost weight in the past couple of years. A lot more attitude than talent in this match. Also, I will see your Mike whatever the fuck and raise you a Hermie Sadler because he also very much sucked in a NASCAR angle in TNA. I hate it. I hate it a whole lot. Hammond sucks. I don't want to see it. I don't give a fuck. 0 stars.
Oh, come on.
More like the shit crew.
Yup. My 3 notes. Fuck, this sucks. BG James looks less fat. Sigh, this is dumb.
I might have to get a t-shirt made with Mike, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just popped me way more than you know because I fucking hate Mike Posey, so I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I hate him too.
Yeah, he's the worst ref in the history of refereeing wrestling in the history of time. He's even worse than your boy Nick Patrick. So
now that's saying something.
So that's saying something. Yeah, definitely. But I'd probably go half a star just because Kaz and Shane really broke some good stuff out there and really worked their asses off to make the other 2 schlubs look good. So I'll give a half a star like the other boys did. But after this, we go back, and Dusty is kind of talking to his ladies, who are his kind of secretaries that are hanging out with him, his bang buddies, as we kind of alluded to last episode. But Jarrett's lawyer comes and confronts him and says if they do not overturn the stip of the use of the guitar being an automatic disqualification, that Dusty will be evicted from the Impact Zone. Dusty then says that he'll evict the lawyer and then makes like a rodeo barrel joke, says he's going to put him in a barrel or something like that and let a bull come at him. But then after that, we get some highlights from the Dustin and Raven rivalry.
Highlights.
They weren't highlights because unfortunately we got no scrotum mention that we got in the last couple episodes.
We did get Shucky Ducky though.
Quack, quack, bitch.
I have a question real quick before we move on from the Dusty segment. Is it typical for his office to be in the back of his truck? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a casting cab.
Okay, good. I like it. I mean, it works, but I just didn't know if that was like show specific or if that's what they were doing with him.
Yeah, saying Trinity, who apparently smells so bad that Sean Kidd gave her LVP last time he was on. So,
she might smell bad, but she looks real good.
Yeah, but Tracy and Trinity are kind of vying to be his permanent secretary. So they have a little contest going on for them. But yeah, Jake, what do you think of the Dusty confrontation there?
Oh, it's typical. This lawyer guy, he looked like those memes where it's like, if this is your lawyer, you're going to jail. He kind of had that sort of energy going on. He looked like the schlubbiest, like shittiest lawyer ever, and Dusty just, I don't know, yeah, just tells him to fuck off. So, but like Lewis said, I don't really get the point. It really doesn't lead to anything. It was just an excuse to have Dusty on the screen with his two ladies.
Ben, what do you think of the Dusty confrontation?
Yeah, this is just an excuse or a reason to get Dusty and his harem on screen. Sean
Harem.
A harem in a garage.
Sean's wrong, by the way, because Trinity was looking like a total smoke show tonight. So
Yeah.
Sean, yet again.
Is this the one where she tries to moon the guy, or is that the one later? I can't.
That's
remember.
later on.
No, that's the
Later
one.
on.
That's the one later. Okay, yeah. I definitely wrote that down, but I couldn't remember if it was this one or the one later. But who have I not gone to? Lewis, what did you think of this?
I mean, there's just so much wrong with this segment, from the casting cab to saying they're going to evict Dusty. I don't know how you evict someone who's parked out in the parking lot. So I don't know. There's just so much dumb about this. From the lawyer saying that they can prove that Jeff Jarrett has never used a guitar in a match too. Like, God, everything about it was dumb.
Yeah, I was going to say, sadly, that is the most absurd statement of the night, and that's really saying something, because Don West says some crazy-ass shit in the show. But we'll move on from there, and we go to our next match, and it's going to be Raven versus Dustin Rhodes. Raven opens the match with some big strikes. Dustin eventually has enough of him kind of beating him around and takes him down to the ground. He takes him around the outside where he uses the steps and the guardrail to kind of his advantage, kind of throws him into him and throws his head into him a few times. Dustin then gets him back in the ring and is kicking him while he's down. But Raven eventually gets Dustin's leg tied in the ropes and kind of wrenches his knee and makes him fall down. Raven then wears down the leg from there, eventually gets him up and hits a discus clothesline, but then immediately goes back down to wearing the leg down. He then, at one point, has him in the corner, wrenching his leg while he's down, and Dustin is able to kind of kick him off, and then Dustin hits a really big clothesline after that. Raven then does a drop toe hold and then locks him in his horrible ankle lock. I mean, he really is literally barely turning his leg or turning his ankle at all. But Dustin then breaks out, but is selling the leg and nails some big strikes and an atomic drop. He then hits the 10 corner mount punches. They both then trade bulldog attempts, but both get countered, and Dustin eventually hits another clothesline. Rhodes then slowly climbs to the top, but Raven then kicks him in the leg, and he falls off. Raven then actually doesn't climb. Raven climbs up and actually gets knocked down. Dustin then comes off the top, but Raven gets a boot up. He then goes for the Raven effect DDT, but it gets countered and he gets super kicked. Rhodes then works him over, but eventually gets caught in the ankle lock once again. Rhodes then kind of shifts momentum by flinging him out of the ring. When Raven comes in, Rhodes locks him in the ankle lock of his own. So Rhodes actually puts Raven in an ankle lock. He then flings him into the turnbuckle, and then he uses a cheat roll-up where he puts his feet on the ropes and actually gets the win. So Raven actually gets to win over Dustin Rhodes here. And the post-match, there's a little bit of a brawl, and Raven puts Dustin in a straitjacket. He kind of crushes him with a trash can. Eventually ties him in the ropes, and then Cassidy Riley tries to come out and make the save, but he very much fails and gets hit with the Raven effect. And then Raven gets a couple of strap shots in before the security kind of comes out and wards him off. But Jenny, what do you think of this Raven Dustin match?
Okay, so all right, look, this is a lot. I love Dustin. Dustin's one of my favorite wrestlers. He's in my favorite match of all time. I love ECW Raven. Okay, and in my watch, Raven has just shown up in TNA. So I've not seen him in this promotion yet. But this was like, I think that my love of them colors a lot of it because I enjoyed it, but it was not good. Dustin looked pretty trashy. Like he was just like kind of slow and kind of weak, and his stuff didn't look impactful at all. Like, and I don't know, I wasn't buying it. I don't like that goatee on him. And Raven was good. Like Raven was like the heart of it. I felt like, you know, he had some good like aggression and some good strikes, and then he murders that kid guy after the match. But him trying to lock on that straight jacket after the match sort of actively takes away from it because it's very, very awkward putting it on. Dustin's like trying to cooperate, but not trying to act like he's cooperating. And then I don't know. It was a real weird vibe in this match. I ended up going 2 1/4 on it. But I feel weird, and I don't know how I feel, Jake.
Yeah, Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if 2005 Raven and Dustin are the two guys that should be working like a limb-focused match. Like Raven, like even at his best, is not. You know, he's not like an Arn Anderson or some guy who's like a technician who's going to work the limb, especially here. Like, I thought he looked for sure. I think they both did at certain points, but I felt like Raven like gassed a lot throughout this whole match. Like it was, everything they did kind of made sense, but it was just kind of dull. The crowd wasn't into it at all, had no heat. It dragged on for a while. It just kind of felt slow and sloppy. Like nothing really like that was really offensively bad or anything. It just was kind of there, and they were going through the motions, but nothing they really did look convincing. Probably my favorite part is Don. So like you were saying, Logan, he's putting on the weakest ankle lock in the world, and Don's just screaming, he's pulling on it, and he's clearly not moving at all. Like Raven's trying to catch his breath while he has the ankle lock on, the second Don thing is, so after this, Dustin's like limping around. And so, you know, like normally if they're working on it, they're like, well, maybe he stretched the tendons or he's really putting some damage to the muscle. But no, Don says, maybe his foot's asleep or his legs asleep. Maybe his legs asleep. Like, just imagine like Ric Flair, like working somebody's leg. And they're just like, oh, I must have fall asleep during the figure 4. Just ridiculous. I love Don so much.
Well, look, what's more annoying than a foot when it falls asleep? It sucks.
Yeah. It's like being wrenching an ankle to put it to sleep. You put a sleeper hold on his leg. It's ridiculous. But the limb work was just not convincing, which is kind of like what they built the whole match around. But so I went 1.5 on it. I didn't think it was like horrible, terrible, but it wasn't. It definitely wasn't anything I would call good either.
Yeah, I was going to say, this didn't need to be a Matt Classic was what it tried to be. This needed to be like a big-time brawl, which at points it was. But, yeah. Ben, what did you think?
Yeah! Sorry, I was doing Dustin Rose music there. We have to do that before I start.
We thought you were having an aneurysm or something.
I kind of agree with like what you've just said, Logan. It's like you've got these two guys; they are perfect for a brawl, and we tried to do some sort of a Matt's technical classic here. At least in that last match, we had one guy who wasn't a trained wrestler. These are two experienced guys, and this was so bad. You know, Raven putting on those ankle hugs. They aren't ankle locks; they're ankle hugs. You know, and like you say, he puts no effort into them at all, and it's just slow. It's just plodding. It's just so like say boring and basic. I went 1.5 stars on it, and you know, apart from Don's commentary, there's not a lot I can take from this match, to be honest.
Yeah, I gotcha. Lewis, what'd you think?
Yeah, the only thing asleep in this match wasn't Dustin's leg. It was me trying to watch it. It just wasn't. It wasn't a good match. It wasn't a good after the match. Like there were so many blown opportunities. First of all, you have Dustin in a straitjacket. Blast him a couple times with that garbage can. Get a steel chair, blast him a couple times. If you have him tied up in the straitjacket in the corner, actually hit him with that leather strap. It was just kind of some love taps on the back, waiting for the security guards to get out there. Second thing, you have this young guy, Cassidy, if you want to actually do something with him, build him up, actually have him make the save, not just go in, hit Raven once, and then get DDT. Like that's a waste of a developmental talent that you have. And I don't know anything about Cassidy. He probably doesn't last another 2 months in the company, but he's a young guy who's
probably not wrong.
He's a young guy, quote unquote, protege under Dustin Rhodes right now. Actually have him make a save, and that can build towards something later. There was nothing built towards anything going out of this match. And so
yeah.
I think I gave it 1.5 stars.
Yeah, I got you. I think Riley actually does stay around for a while, but he's nothing more than like a lower card guy throughout his whole career. But yeah, he never ends up being much. But I think he actually does stay around for a little bit. But yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I went 1.5 on it as well. It tried to be something that it shouldn't have tried to be. It definitely should have been more of a brawl. I would have been okay if this had been one of those matches where they kind of ignored the DQ rule like they seem to do in every other match. So, yeah, I definitely think this could have been a little bit harder and more hard hitting of a contest than it ended up being. So, yeah, kind of disappointing that they tried to make a Matt Classic out of it. You would have thought Kurt Angle was in the match for what they were trying to do. So, but after the match, we go to a video package for our new superstar. We finally get what his name is, and it's going to be Triton, and he is going to be on Impact this week. So we have a new superstar coming in. So I know everybody's excited about that one.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. But after that, we get a little bit of a recap of the tag title feud between Cash and Hoyt, and then AMW, just kind of their confrontations that they've had throughout the weeks. I'm going to really struggle to not call him Dallas throughout this match, so just bear with me. But it's a tag title match, so we get our taglines. The first one is 6-time champs. They talk about how AMW had just won the tag titles and become the champs for the 6th time. They actually specified that they've been 6-time champs individually, but they've won it together 5 times. I thought that was hilarious. But the second one is, can the challengers cash in again? So Cash and Hoyt have been tag champions before, so they're trying to see if they can get the tag titles back for a second time. And the last one is history with an Impact. On the first episode of Impact that we watched, the first episode of Impact ever, they had a tag title match, and AMW actually won the tag titles from Cash, and then he was Dallas, but now it's Lance Hoyt. But to start the match, Cash and Storm are in the ring. They trade arm bars and then some headlocks early. They continue to trade reversals and even a couple of pin attempts. Cash eventually gets frustrated and tags Hoyt in. Hoyt then points to Harris and wants to kind of fight him, so Storm tags him in as well. They both give each other a big shove. They kind of both shove each other down, kind of like we saw in our last tag match. Harris then just starts waylaying on him. They each throw some big strikes back and forth at each other. Harris eventually gets the better of it and goes for a suplex, but Hoyt actually reverses it and gets some more big strikes in. He tags in Cash, who immediately gets arm dragged. Harris then tags in Storm, where they double team Cash and Hoyt, and both eventually knock them to the outside. Storm then kind of bounces off the top rope, and he runs against the rope, and then Harris kind of throws him over the top rope onto the heels on the outside. Storm then gets up and throws Cash in the ring, only to get nailed with a big clothesline by Hoyt. Hoyt then follows that up with an arm drag onto the concrete on the outside. Back in the ring, Hoyt suplexes Cash on top of Storm, but only gets 2 on that. Hoyt then continues to wear down the back and neck of Storm that he kind of injured on the concrete on the outside. Storm then breaks out of a neck crank and throws Cash into the corner, but Cash actually gets a boot up and nails him with a moonsault. Hoyt then gets tagged in, and it looks like Storm might have something going, but Hoyt kind of cuts him off with a brutal powerbomb. Cash then comes in illegally and goes for the pin. Storm then kind of fires up again, but again gets nailed, this time with a DDT. Cash then goes for a frog splash, but Storm actually gets the knees up. Both men then get up and hit dueling crossbodies at the same time because they kind of take each other out. Harris and Hoyt then both get tagged in. Harris then comes in with some big clotheslines and eventually knocks the big man down. He comes back in and hits a bulldog on Hoyt and a spinebuster on Cash. Then they get a very, very, very impressive vertical suplex by Harris. He holds him up for a good 15 seconds, it seems like. And with as big a guy as Hoyt is, that's really impressive. Cash then prevents him from pinning, eventually hitting a Hurricane Rana. Storm then hits the Eye of the Storm on Cash and goes for what TNA calls the Hangman's Noose on Hoyt. But Hoyt actually reverses it and hits a sidewalk slam off the top rope, which I thought was a cool move as well. That only gets 2. It appears that Hoyt and Cash are going for some kind of double team, but Harris actually knocks Cash off the top rope into the ground. Storm then gets Hoyt on the top rope and hits a Hurricane Rana, followed by a top rope elbow by Harris. That only gets 2 as well. Cash then grabs the title belts, and Storm gets one and goes to nail him with it, but the ref actually yanks it away. And this allows Cash to use the other tag title to hit Storm with it, but that still only gets 2. They then it appears that they're going cuff Storm to the bottom rope, but Harris actually gets him and actually handcuffs Cash to the top turnbuckle in their corner, and then AMW hits the death sentence, and that gets them the win. Jake, what do you think of this tag title match?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It kind of AMW kind of have a unless things really go badly or they have a really weak opponent. I mean, we've seen what they did with the Naturals, so they kind of have a pretty high floor. Like, you're gonna, no matter what, you're gonna have a pretty good match from them. And the Cash and Hoyt are some pretty solid opponents, especially Cash. Hoyt still seems a little limited. He still seems a little bit like a stiff, but he does okay in this one. Like, I thought that he did like a sidewalk slam off the top, which I thought looked pretty good. Today was losing his mind during this match, like maybe a little bit too much for what was happening. Like, he was just going insane. The only thing I didn't really like about this is I thought the handcuff thing was a little bit stupid. Like, the ref was just like, could you please not use the handcuffs, sir? And he just lets them use it. This is kind of ridiculous. Like, he just lets AMW handcuff him, which I think it ends up not really mattering too much because it's not really that big of a match, and they're kind of douches anyway, so I guess it's fine, but it is a little absurd to just have the ref blatantly let them use handcuffs in the match, and it's what leads them to win, because that's how they're able to hit the leg drop to win it. But high energy, like always, from AMW, and Cash could definitely go with them, and Hoyt, he didn't drag it down, so perfectly fine tag match to put over AMW.
What would you star rate it?
Oh, I'll go 2 3/4. Sorry.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Ben, what do you think?
Quick question, Logan. Did you know that Lance Hoyt was from Dallas?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, yeah. Like last month, I mean, I wasn't on the show with Final Resolution, but I think I said on the show after I had to give that tag match 4 stars. This is a little bit behind that, but it's still really good. We talked in the first match about a match losing something from its end sequence, this gained something from its end sequence, everything. Like you say, that stalling suplex was absolutely fantastic. James Storm is the star of the show. The noose and the Eye of the Storm look fantastic. And I know I've criticized it before because I'm not the biggest fan of the move, but the death sentence was really impressive. I went 3 1/4 on it.
I got you. Lewis, what'd you think?
Yeah, going back to the referee stuff, it's not the first time it happens in this pay-per-view, and it won't be the last time it happens. The referees just clearly not doing what should be done in a match situation. So it happened with Dustin Rhodes when he was doing the corner punches to Raven. I think it was Wes that said, obviously this is illegal, but I think the referee's just letting it happen because it's against Raven. And then with the handcuff stuff in this match, it's pointed out again, the referee's letting it go here. The easiest fix to TNA's referee and disqualification problem, because there's no telling what match is going to be DQs and what match isn't, is just to say something like, under Dusty Rhodes' management, he's letting referees have more discretion so the bad guys don't always get away with stuff. Easy fix. Just say something like that, and then I can go along with how dumb the DQ rules can be in TNA matches sometimes. So if that had happened, I would be much happier. aside from that, going to the actual match itself, I thought, yeah, just like Ben was saying, it was a decently good match, a little above average from what I see in TNA. So I also went 3.25 on it.
Gotcha. Jenny, what'd you think?
Okay, so AMW, they're amazing. Kid Cash is fucking awesome. One of my favorites. So yes, I was excited for this. I don't know Hoyt at all, but he was all right. Not bad. For a tag partner for Cash, but this was fun. Like that fucking vertical suplex. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that all day. That's a fun fucking.
So Jenny, do you watch AEW?
Yes. No.
Okay,
I don't. No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Lance
Hoyt is Lance Archer. If you've seen anything of Lance Archer.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for telling me that. But this is where the commentary goes just fucking off the rails. Like, it was already fairly annoying, but not super bad. And this match, everybody's coke kicks in or something, I don't know. And it is just nonstop screaming throughout the entire match. And that's fine, I guess. It's just, I don't think that they realize that you don't have to talk the entire time. Like, they don't let anything breathe. They don't let anything land. It is just a barrage of sound. And, I appreciate the enthusiasm, and TNA will have some good tidbits here and there. But Jesus Christ, like, if you put this on mute, it probably gets another half star from me. As it is, I gave 2 3/4.
I gotcha. Yeah, I was just saying they either just did a line of cocaine before this match, or they're really hyped about Triton debuting on Impact this week. So
I do feel
last
like
match
they
when
get
Raven sat on their table, something fell out of his pocket.
Right.
Go ahead, Jay.
I do think they get worked up for AMW. Like, there's a few people, like AJ, AMW, like they are just completely lose their mind, no matter what they're doing. Even if it's kind of like tame, they still just like go insane for them.
Yeah, anything X Division and then AMW, they're always like just on super hyper mode, so it's crazy. I went 3 stars on it. I thought it was a good match. Like Ben said, Hoyt wasn't he didn't degrade for the match at all. He didn't make it any worse. And Cash and AMW are both amazing. So I thought it was a really good match. It could have been given a little bit more time, and I think it could have been a slightly better in some areas, but I thought it was a pretty good match, and I really enjoyed it, as I always seem to do with these AMW matches. So a good contest for sure. But after we finish this match, we go to the back, and a limo arrives, and Shane Douglas wants so bad to figure out who's inside, but he gets nowhere because the security absolutely will not let him get in or even look and see who it is. So
get away, you freak.
Get away, you freak.
Yeah, get away, you Tourette's freak.
Security ever.
Do what?
What'd you say? No, I said least imposing security ever. They're all thinner than him. They're all shorter than him.
But he's a little bitch, so it don't matter.
Oh God! If Logan and Jake are the TNA and West, which one of us is the Shane Douglas?
We'll say Sean.
Definitely Sean.
He's the most strokey and twitchy, I think. So he definitely gets the Shane Douglas. And he hates him the most, so that only makes sense at least. So, that security team looked like the modern day NXT roster with all the small things. So, yeah, definitely. But after that, we get a Best and Hardy recap, kind of go over their feud as well, kind of hyping up the first Full Metal Mayhem match that we're gonna have. And for people who don't know what a Full Metal Mayhem match is, this one is basically a TLC match that involves a chain. So they have to throw the chain in there with the TLC because they don't want to steal from WWE. And then there are going to be two envelopes hanging over the ring. One is empty, and the other one has a contract for a future world title match, which is absolutely fucking absurd.
Stupid.
Fucking stupid.
What are we doing?
So stupid.
One is empty.
Is Vince Russo still writing the show?
No, he got let go.
Okay.
That's the worst part. They're still doing
Alright.
stupid shit like that.
Just curious.
No, I was just, yeah, he just left like 2 or 3 months ago, so
Okay.
he's actually not involved at all. So, but to start the match, Hardy tries to kind of use his speed early to take down the big man, but Abyss eventually just kind of grabs him and chucks him across the ring and kind of slams him down to the mat. Abyss then goes for a leg drop but misses, and then this allows Hardy to kind of hit one leg drop of his own, kind of the one that he kind of splits their legs and leg drops them in the balls. Hardy then starts throwing chairs into the ring, starts to set up one chair to kind of go for a solo poetry in motion, but Abyss actually slides to the outside. So Hardy just takes the chair and sets it up next to the ropes and does the poetry in motion over the top rope. Hardy then uses the outside elements to his advantage. He uses the steps, the guardrail, all that kind of stuff, kind of to wear down Abyss. Back in the ring, Hardy charges Abyss on the apron, but Abyss actually picks him up, and he looks to be about to slam him to the outside, but Hardy actually escapes and nails him with a chair. He goes from there for another poetry in motion, but Abyss actually grabs a chair and nails him in the head with it as he's kind of jumping towards him. Abyss then stomps Hardy and goes to the outside and starts setting up some tables. He sets up like 4 tables, one on top of the other. And then Hardy puts a ladder in the ring so he can kind of use it later while that's all going on. Abyss then looks to go for a power bomb to the outside through the tables, but Hardy actually escapes and kind of slips out and barely hits a whisper in the wind. As he's kind of climbing the rope, he kind of slips and almost falls, so it almost ends up super botched. Hardy then uses the ladder to shove Abyss into the corner. He then runs up it and kind of hits a Van Daminator into his face with the chair. Hardy then gets another ladder and sets it up for I called it the Joey Mercury spot, and kind of slingshots the ladder into Abyss's face. He doesn't completely fuck up his face like he did to Joey Mercury later on in 2006. But Hardy then has Abyss kind of straddled in the ropes and charges at him, and Abyss actually hits a belly to belly while he's like through the ropes and chucks him over the top rope, and he actually lands through a table that had previously been set up outside. Abyss then comes to the other side, and Hardy, while selling the back, tries to kind of ward him off with a chair. Another table gets set up over by the tunnel. Hardy then hits his little inside-out kick and then hits the twist of fate as well. He sets Abyss kind of on the table from there. He then starts to climb to the top of the tunnel. He kind of goes through the crowd and gets to the top of above the tunnel, and then he goes for a swanton off the top of it and actually nails Abyss through the table. And somehow both guys are up like within 15 seconds, so they do not sell it at all. Hardy then gets the mega super ladder that he sets up. It's bigger than all the other ladders that they had already. He then grabs one of the envelopes, but it's actually ends up being the empty one. Abyss kind of tries to take him down, but he kind of wards Abyss off for a little bit, and then he goes for the other envelope, but Abyss eventually brings him down and then whips him so hard that he dives over the top rope and only lands through one of the tables set up on the stack. But he also kind of doesn't sell this at all, because I think that's what was supposed to happen, but I'll go into that after the match. But he throws him so hard, he goes through the giant stack of tables, and then Abyss climbs and gets the contract for the world title match. So, Jenny, what'd you think of Full Metal Mayhem here?
Okay. Why do you have to go to me first?
I can go to me first.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I like sort of trash matches and like bullshit, I like people jumping off of sets. I think that looks cool, but you're right. There's no selling in this ladder match, which is for me part of the fun, of like tables and ladders and chairs and chains, is watching people get really hurt by them, which I feel like they did an okay job of doing all of those things, but none of it felt like they got hurt at all, right? So, so it's kind of weird because I see the effort, but not really giving me the payoff that I want. Climbing the ladder for the empty envelope is fucking hilarious. I just feel like that's a metaphor for Jeff Hardy's life. I don't know, but
You're not wrong.
I liked Abyss crawling back up the ramp. That's a nice touch. Overall, I'm gonna say I liked it. It was not boring, but it was a trash match. 2 3/4 stars.
As you were talking about that's not what I thought you were going for, but okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I got you.
Probably overrated it, but
no, you're good. Trust me, you'll see. You're all right. Lewis, what'd you think?
Yeah, there were a lot of cool spots in this match. I agree with what's been said so far about the non-selling, though. Like, of the 3 or 4 table spots that Hardy had, the only one he kind of sold was the belly-to-belly that Abyss did from the ring through the table, and I think the only reason he actually sold that was because he might have actually hurt his ass on the concrete. The rest of the time, it was just absolutely no selling. He threw the fit after the match, like stomping through tables. Which, like, I hope that was like a scripted thing and him not just having a little Austin Aries moment, no selling the finish to a TNA match. But yeah, I like that Abyss got the win because I think Hardy needs to get out of the world title picture for a minute and have like a feud somewhere else in TNA with someone else. Because right now I don't want to see him in the title picture, and I do want to see Abyss in the title picture. Especially because we still have a lot to pay off with his mysterious backstage guy that's been giving him all these hints and telling him stuff, and like we still need a lot of payoff to that. So pushing Abyss farther into the main event picture is where he should be right now. So I'm glad he got the win. For the match itself, I like some of the spots. I like that Abyss got the win. I think it was still just an average match, though, even with the cool spots it had. So I gave it 3 stars.
Gotcha. Ben, what'd you think? Ben, what did you?
It's funny shit. I'm gonna get funny shit for this. No, I am. I really liked it. It's gonna sound like damning with faint praise, but it's Jeff Hardy's best match in TNA by an absolute country mile. It's not just Full Metal Mayhem though, Logan. Remember, it's a TLCC match. Let's get it right. You know, we need to get that in. Yeah, I thought it was really well built up in the beginning part. It's the ending again that absolutely kills it. You know, that spot, you know, the throw into the table where he takes the flat back bump, that just kills everything because they literally do the swanton and then go straight to the ladders, and that's the entire match. I started at 3.5. I've worked my way down. I'm going to go 3 1/4 for it.
You wimped out. You were too afraid Sean was going to yell at you. I know. I'm just messing with you. Oh, Matt was the one that was going to kill you for it. That's right. That's right.
Everybody else, because the envelope bit was ridiculous. Just have one envelope. It just makes life so much easier.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm going to get to it after I go to Jake, but I think that kind of ruined something that they were trying to do. But Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, the envelope, while we're on it, it was just dumb. Why not just have one up there? And especially because it must have just been this on the pay-per-view. They said this because on TV, they never mentioned that this was going to be for anything, right? They just made it seem like it was going to be like a TLC or whatever. Metal
I think
Mayhem.
They implied that it might lead to a title match, but I don't think they said it was a number 1 contenders thing or anything like that.
Like, just do it like a ladder match. It's just like what they do a lot is they have to change something just so they can say they changed it if it makes it worse. Oh no, let's make it like, do we really want it to be up to chance? No, you want the guy who's winning to get it. Like, because now it's like, well, Jeff could. I almost feel like they were trying to protect Jeff Hardy in this match a little bit because he doesn't actually take a pin. It's kind of implied if it wouldn't have this dumb double envelope thing that he would have won. So I don't know if it was just a weird way to protect him because even the finish is kind of protecting him because, he doesn't get pinned. And it was very weird. Like, I mean, it's weird that they set up because the way they did it, I don't feel like there's any possible way he could have actually gone through the tables. because he like Abyss just kind of throws him into the rope. It's a ridiculous spot because he throws him into the ropes and then Jeff just jumps over the ropes, like oversells it and jumps. Like, what were they expecting to do? Jump like 15 feet in the air over into the tables? Like, I don't know. Like, Jeff kind of looks upset that they botched it. I don't know if that was like, I felt like some of it was him being frustrated that it didn't go right, and that's why he's throwing the tables. But I don't know, weird finish. Yeah, my whole issue with this one is I enjoy a lot of the spots. I love Don overselling, saying that Jeff jumped off the top of the building, which would make it seem like he jumped off the roof, which is awesome. But I just felt like in a match, I feel like they were in a tough spot because typically I think with matches like this, and it's why a lot of times these are like multi-man matches like Money in the Bank and TLC matches have like at least 3 to 4 people in it, if not like 6 people with multiple teams and stuff, because the biggest issue out with the match is that you could see the strings a little bit too much. Like you guys talked about, the selling was a problem too. And I think it's because they were too worried to sell because they're already spending so much time like setting up the spots. Like to me, there was just like, you could see a little bit too much of it, them having to set everything up. And if you have a lot of people in the match, it's okay because you could have some people like that you're focused on while other people are setting up the tables and shit and setting up all the spots. But here you only have them 2. So it's like one guy would get knocked down and then we have a long time where somebody sets something up. So it kind of threw off the whole flow of the match. And that along with the selling, I think hurt it. But I guess what I think is like, I didn't think it was bad. I still thought it was pretty entertaining, but I think it could have been a lot better if they would have sold the violence of it a lot more. And they could have found some way to not make it so obvious that they were setting up the spots. But I still at 2.5. I didn't think it was bad. I just think it could have been a lot better. But I do think Jeff looked good in this. I feel like he's more in his element. He didn't look like slow too bad or like that he was botching a bunch of stuff like he has been. So I think he's on a positive trend with these. I mean, put him in these slop-ass, like Jenny said, trash matches, I think is more his deal. And I guess he feels more at home in them. So probably better, like Lewis said, than putting him in the title feuds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is definitely Jeff's match. So my best explanation for the ending, why he kind of threw him over the top rope like that, I think Jeff thought that they were close enough to where he could push the ladder over and take him through the tables, and Abyss didn't want to do it, so he got pissed at Abyss, and like once he got thrown over, he just kind of threw a fit. So I think it was kind of a shoot. I think he got mad that Abyss didn't think that they could do it, or it was out of position or something weird like that. But I think Hardy was legit mad that Abyss didn't kind of tip his ladder over.
It was very weird. Yeah, it didn't look right. Like, I don't know why you would spend so much time setting up all those tables and do a spot where there's no way you're going to break them.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was something with the contracts, like they thought the other one was the full one, or I mean, he obviously goes for the empty one first, which I think he was supposed to. That's obvious by the ending of the match, but yeah, I think something just went wrong there. Like Jeff thought that they could pull it off, but Abyss didn't want to like kill him, so he actually made the right decision. But I think Jeff was just a little mad. So I think that actually was kind of a shoot. But this is definitely Jeff's. This is definitely Jeff's best match, and I thought it was a good little brawl. Had some good weapons. The selling's a problem, of course, but I'll still go 3 stars on it. I thought it was a pretty good weapons match and kind of a brawl. And this is definitely what Jeff Hardy needs to be in, and this is where Abyss kind of shines. I feel like he's really good in these like brawls where he can kind of chuck a smaller guy around and really impose his will on him. So I really enjoyed it, and yeah, Don West had the moment of the night right there where he said he jumped from the roof of the building. So I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I definitely think this was Jeff's best match though. So. But right here, we will take a break as we only have 3 matches left. So we will see you on the other side. Place to be Nation. Welcome back to the second half of our show, where we will be talking about the last 3 matches of Against All Odds 2005. As we come back from break, we go right into our next match. We get Monty Brown and Diamond Dallas Page, and they're taking on Eric Young and Bobby Roode of Team Canada. So this was supposed to be Bobby Roode and Scott Hall. So to kind of flesh out that storyline, why and explain why Hall's not there. They say he had a contract buyout, so he wanted out of his contract, so he's leaving TNA. But really, he had like really bad issues with drugs at this point, and this was kind of like his bottom point that he ever got to before he kind of got better throughout the years. But I think this is kind of his lowest point he was ever at. So that's really why he's gone. But they kind of explain it as a contract buyout to start the match. So. That's why Hall is not here with us on this show. But to start the match, Eric Young and Monty kind of start things. Monty's power advantage takes over to kind of begin the match. He has him in an arm wrench and continuously pulls him away from the ropes. He keeps getting the ropes, but he'll pull him away and kind of yank him away. He even gets to the outside, and he kind of pulls him all the way up into the ring at one point while he's doing that. He then just kind of starts chucking him around the ring, just kind of throwing him around and hitting some big clotheslines. Roode eventually pulls Young out of the ring to kind of prevent the ass kicking from continuing. But Monty once again kind of grabs his arm and pulls him back in the ring, which was a great show of strength, I thought. DDP then gets tagged in, and he and Monty kind of double arm wrench on Young, and then they do a double back elbow. DDP then whips Young into the ropes, and Young is able to stop his momentum and actually tag in Roode. Roode, I said Roode has his kindergarten art project tights on tonight, so he switched from the more professional looking ones back to his little kindergarten art project tights that he has on. But Roode then immediately also falls victim to the arm wrench, so they're really focusing on the arms of Team Canada as we start the match. But the DDP then continues working over Roode with arm drags and some more big clotheslines. He tags in Monty, and they hit a double clothesline. So a lot of clotheslines in this one for sure. He then tags DDP back in, and they do another double team that ended with DDP kind of hitting a neck breaker. Roode eventually reverses a whip into the corner, and Young kind of gets an elbow up to kind of distract DDP long enough for Roode to end up hitting a lariat. Team Canada then keeps DDP in their corner, where they kind of cheat and wear him down. They use Johnny Devine and Scott D'Amore on the outside to kind of help them wear DDP down there in the corner. DDP eventually breaks away, but Team Canada actually cuts him off from getting to Monty Brown in time. DDP then gets a jawbreaker out of nowhere, and Roode then kind of collide, which results in DDP actually falling headfirst straight into Bobby Roode's testicles. Both men get a tag in, and Monty comes in and kind of really lights up Team Canada, just takes it to both guys, nails a pretty awesome fall-away slam on Eric Young. D'Amore then distracts Posey, allowing for all three Team Canada members from the outside to come in and kind of take out Monty. Roode then hits a suplex on Monty, and Young then hits an elbow from the top, but that only gets two. Monty is able to land some big strikes and eventually kind of chuck Young to the other side and tag in DDP. DDP then comes in and cleans house. Things kind of break down when all four men get in the ring. DDP and Monty eventually just bludgeon Team Canada, eventually leading to Monty hitting the pounce on Roode, and DDP actually hits the diamond cutter on Eric Young, and that gets him the win. So, Jake, what do you think of this all-star tag team match here?
Yeah, this kind of just felt like something to like get the crowd fired up, because they get to watch two kind of beloved faces like DDP and Monty mostly just kind of whip ass on Team Canada. And Roode and they're always so good at stooging around, which they did in this match. It almost felt like an old school kind of 80s WWF match, where it's just to put the faces over, make them look good. The crowd loves it. It was entertaining. It had a nice pace. It was real smooth. The heels are bumping around. The faces look great. And it was just a good, solid tag match to make them look good and make the crowd happy, which is fine. But I will say it is weird. I mean, this is not the worst use of them, but to me, like, I feel like Monty should be doing something more than this. This kind of feels like an Impact match. and it just got me thinking about this whole card, how many people are missing off of here. Like that Raven and Dustin got a match, and Jeff Hammond bullshit, and we have, Monty working kind of in a nothing match. You have tons of X Division guys like Saban, and I'm always wondering, like, is Red even still with the company? But it just had me thinking, like, how many people are not on here. It's kind of disappointing. But anyway, I went 2.5. It was a perfectly fine match, entertaining and fun.
Yeah, I gotcha. Ben, what'd you think?
Another question for you, Logan. Is this really the best that we could do for Monty?
No.
It's as generic and as bland a tag match as you're going to see, because you've got these two, main event upper mid card guys against two, Bobby Roode at this point is basically just a mid card schlub, and Eric Young's below that. So it was fine. It was okay. We got, the top rope cut was nice, which we got a pound. We got the video package before that reminded us about. And yeah, it was fine. Like I say, went 2 stars. It was okay.
Gotcha. Lewis, what did you think?
Yeah, it was kind of just a filler tag team match. Again, with Scott Hall leaving, they still had to fill out this match by throwing in another Team Canada guy into it. So it wasn't as good, I think, as the other tag matches we've seen tonight. So I went 2.5 stars on it, and at least DDP and Monty got the win, so Monty can continue being at that top echelon of the main card, even though he never gets that push he deserves. He's still up there right now, so we're not seeing him get pushed to the sideline right now.
Yeah, I gotcha. And yeah, it was supposed to be Hall, so that implies that it was supposed to be a bigger match than it ends up being. So It was supposed to be bigger for sure. Jenny, what did you think of this match?
See, now I thought this was really fun. I felt like this had sort of a house show kind of feel to it. Like Jake said, crowd pleasing, which they're super over on DDP and Monty. So, and the crowd loves them. So it's really, really fun to watch them hit a diamond cutter or, clean house after a hot tag. And it was nonstop, snappy, fun. It wasn't boring. I found myself really enjoying that match. It wasn't anything overcomplicated. I think that maybe they were trying to maybe make up for the fact that your Scott Hall wasn't there, so maybe they put a little something extra in it. So I'm at 2 3/4 stars. I actually really like that match.
Yeah, I got you. I went 2.5 on it. I thought it was pretty good, like y'all have said. The Hall messing kind of takes the star power away from it, but Team Canada is a very good team, and Roode and Young are good workers as well. It was more of like like y'all said, it's a showcase for DDP and Monty. It's to show off how dominant and awesome that they are, and that they'll stay in the main event picture, that they are main eventers, and they're going to be a thorn in Jeff Jarrett's side for the coming months and everything like that. So yeah, it keeps them up top. It gives them a win over a credible tag team. They've been multiple time tag team champions at this point. So I went 2.5 on it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I thought it was a very good showcase for those two guys. And, Team Canada held up their end, and they continue to impress like they always do. But after the match, we go back, and Trinity and Tracy are in Dusty's office, a.k.a. his truck, and they're just kind of bitching back and forth at each other. The lawyer comes back, Jarrett's lawyer comes back and asks if Dusty ended up signing the piece of paper that said he would get rid of the guitar stipulation, and they both say no. Trinity then turns around and shows the lawyer where the signature is by mooning him and showing her ass off at him. But Tracy actually quickly covers it up with a cowboy hat. So she kind of tells her to stop being a slut. So I thought that was pretty funny. Jenny, what'd you think of this little Trinity Tracy back and forth?
Oh, this shit's fun. I enjoy that. I thought it was funny, and fucking Trinity's body is insane. I want to look like her. If I could look like anybody, I'd look like Trinity. Maybe I'd smell better, but her body's banging.
I mean, hopefully you smell better. I mean,
Yeah.
apparently she smells like rotten fish and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I'm sure that's accurate.
Lewis, what'd you think of this little Trinity Tracy back and forth?
I mean, I get that they're just trying to pay off the lawyer thing from earlier, but it doesn't do anything for me. I don't find Tracy and Trinity that funny, and like it's just a nothing segment as far as where the show needs to actually be going. There's nothing really dedicated to anything that's paying off anywhere. It's just, okay, we already knew he wasn't going to be able to use the guitar. We already heard an hour ago that Dusty wasn't going to sign the contract. We didn't need the follow-up here. This could have been like a backstage interview with someone that had already won a match, or like AJ Styles before the Iron Man match getting interviewed by somebody about like his thoughts on the upcoming match. It could have been used for some character development that we just don't get.
Yeah, I definitely get you there. Ben, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of like where Lewis is. It's a totally pointless segment, but I just get this feeling like, because Dusty obviously loves the girls. That's why he's going to get them increased airtime, and he'll get them into a segment like this, and like Jenny and you've alluded to, it makes it more memorable and more fun.
Yeah, definitely. Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was just a quick little bumper segment before you go into this long match that we're about to have. So it is funny that Trinity's in the smell club. I guess because considering Dusty, I'm assuming Dusty probably smells like the most old man cologne. Like I feel like he probably wears about like half a bottle of cologne.
Yes.
So it's funny he's not in the smell club. But I guess the smell club is reserved for ladies. I don't know.
Nah. Dusty definitely smells like wintergreen dip spit or something like that. I think that's definitely his vibe. Yeah. Some skull or something.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Sean was very much
smell club.
Sean was very much a one-man committee on that. Like, we didn't even get a chance to have a vote on it.
He's the judge, jury, and executioner of the smell club.
Anyway. Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with them. She definitely looks like she could smell. So, but yeah, not enough to give her LVP for the night, which he did. So that's a step too far. But as the boys alluded to, we're gonna head into our Iron Man match next. We kind of get a video recap like we have. I think TNA is really good at doing the video recaps because they kind of show you everything that's gone on, all the rivalries. So I really like that they do
porn music.
Yeah, I was saying they have bow chicka wow wow going on. But as it's an X Division title match, we have our X Factors. They claim that this is their first meeting in TNA, which is actively not true because we saw them wrestle less than 3 weeks ago. So that's not true at all. The second one is the Styles Clash versus the Angels Wing, just kind of comparing their two finishing moves and how devastating they can be. And then the third one is the Iron Man rules, just kind of talking about how neither man have ever really had like this long of a match, or it's been a while, so they're not used to like wrestling for 30 straight minutes. So it's going to kind of test their will and see how much strength and endurance they have throughout this match.
Also actively not true.
Yeah, probably. But to start the match, the two kind of lock up and trade some amateur wrestling holds and go back and forth to each other. Daniels ends up on top working the leg and head. Styles eventually turns things around and works Daniels' arm. Daniels then elbows out of a waist lock and goes against the ropes, and AJ tries to do a leapfrog, but on the rebound, Daniels actually catches him and rolls him up. AJ kicks out quickly, but gets and goes for a couple of roll-ups of his own. He then attempts to go for a third, but Daniels actually rains down some big strikes. He catches him on the ground. He hits some big strikes to his back, and then he hits a big clothesline. He then gets Styles in a side headlock and avoids the drop kick when being thrown against the ropes, but actually gets a little too cocky, and Styles eventually does nail the drop kick, and it knocks him to the outside. Styles then leaps out and does a Hurricane Rana from the apron to the outside on the ground. The two then battle on the outside, kind of trading some haymakers back and forth, trading some big punches. While this is all happening, they both realize that they're getting counted out, which I guess really wouldn't have mattered deep down, but I guess one hoped that they could get in before the other one did and maybe get the count out victory for the first fall, but they both get in back before the 10 count happens. Back in the ring, Styles hits two very Steamboat-esque arm drags is what I put down. Daniels then temporarily turns an armbar into a head scissors, but Styles quickly breaks out and does another arm drag into another arm wrench. He really is working the elbow, kind of trying to take that away from Daniels so he can't hit the Angel's wings. Every time it looks like Daniels is going to get out of what Styles is doing to him, Styles gets him right back down to the ground and continues to work the arm. Daniels tries to execute a roll up off the ropes, but Styles actually holds on and then nails a big kick to the chest. Styles is relentless with the kicks and is doing some constant arm work, so he's constantly throwing some big kicks and constantly continuing to focus on the arm. He arm drags him back and he arm drags him again, and Daniels is in pain and he's frustrated, so he rolls to the outside. But Styles keeps going back at him and gets some big hits, coming in with a baseball slide. He then does a springboard dive out on top of him. He kind of, I don't know if he botches it, but like he kind of jumps on the ropes and then falls back down and then does it again and actually hits him. They acted like he was trying to play with him or something like that, but it kind of looked weird. But back in the ring, it looks like Styles is going to go for the phenomenal forearm, but Daniels actually pulls the ref in front of him, so that kind of causes Styles to hesitate, and Daniels forearms Styles off the apron into the guardrail. Daniels then starts to really work over the rib area because that's where AJ had kind of hit the guardrail. He hit it right on his ribs. Styles then Daniels starts to constantly focus on the ribs, raining in some major damage. Daniels is super tenacious and keeps the attack on the weak spot that Styles has. During his attack, Daniels hits a slightly botched moonsault springboard, but he still nails it effectively at the same time. Daniels eventually whips AJ against the ropes, but puts his head down only to get a boot to the face and then get nailed with a discus clothesline. Back up, Styles nails two clotheslines and a spinning wheel kick. He then does his backflip inverted DDT flawlessly as always. He then does a suplex that ends up turning into a neck breaker. AJ then crushes him with a back suplex and then goes to the top rope, but Daniels actually meets him up there only to get pushed off, but he gets his knees up on a 450 attempt, and then Daniels actually hits Angel's wings and wins the first fall of this Iron Man match. So I'll go to Jake. What do you think of this first fall that they had?
Yeah, I was digging this from the beginning. I like for two guys that I think generally were probably known as being more kind of X Division-y spot kind of guys. I thought they did a good job of doing a nice mix of stuff in this match. Like they, especially to start off, like they work into these big spots, but there's a lot of mat work. The strikes I really like, even from the beginning of the match. I think throughout this entire match, they have some really good strikes, wearing each other down. Nice, like momentum swings between the two. And I did like the way they got to the first fall. Like I like the 450 and how quickly he jumps up and goes for the Angel's wings and gets the first fall. And then it kind of, it's typical. You're gonna have AJ, who's the face, beat down, so he's kind of playing the underdog role going forward. So I was kind of digging it from the beginning.
Yeah, I got you. Ben, what did you think of the first half of the match?
I really liked it, but it's my issue with Iron Man matches generally, like, because we know it's going to go 30 minutes, so the pace is going to be deliberately slower, and I get that, I understand that, but it still doesn't make it, great to sit through at times. But these two are so good, so fluid, so smooth that you tend not to notice the fact they're putting on rest holds or the pace has dropped down just a smidge, below what they usually did. And I'm like Jake, that fall and how quickly Daniels capitalized on the mistake, I thought was great because, it played into the rib work that they'd already done earlier, in those first 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing. Literally the only thing you can say that's been bad so far was that one springboard botch that AJ had where he went up, went back down, and then went back up again. I don't know if like he was like double guessing what he wanted to do, if he wanted to do a springboard like elbow or 450. He was just trying to he just hesitated too long trying to think of what he wanted to do, so he had to redo the whole spot. But other than that, the first half of this match has been so fluid, so nice, and obviously it's AJ and Christopher Daniels. We expected this to be the match of the night, so it's just going that way so far.
Yeah, I got you. Jenny, what did you think of this first half of the match?
Man, AJ is amazing, right? Even during that, like, whatever we're calling it, botched hesitation spot or whatever, AJ didn't bother me as much as Daniels did, just standing there fucking waiting for him to figure it out. Like, okay. But other than that, like you guys said, like, it's a war. A lot of who's going to get that first pin. The only thing is just the commentary is just murdering it. Like this is like okay, I already know, I'm already worried about the time limit draw because I hate time limit draws. And so I'm like, okay, well, try not to think about that and just think about the match. But they can't, in the same way that the wrestlers have to pace this match in the 30 minutes, I think the commentary team needs to figure out how to do that at some point as well, because their points are repetitive all the time, and they're just screaming them just nonstop. and the boys are doing the fucking work. Like, you don't need to tell me all of this, and it bugs me to no end in a fucking match like this. It's unnecessary and bugs me. But other than that,
that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were in like extra cocaine mode in this match, and they didn't need to worry about the two guys pacing themselves. They needed to worry about pacing themselves. I
thought that West was going to stroke out.
He probably almost did, honestly.
He's like immune, like he's
free.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he shot something up before this match and was just like constantly just like. He drank a fucking 4 monsters before this match and was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna really go at it in this one. Yeah, but a very good first half. Lots of limb work, lots of focusing on a body part. I really like that part. They both kind of focused on a different thing. But yeah, great wrestling in this first half. But to start the second half, Daniels kind of, after he gets the fall, kind of gloats and then continues to really hammer the ribs. As Daniels continues to gloat while he's attacking, Styles kind of starts to get some shots into the gut, and then he actually hits a backdrop. He goes for another arm drag, but actually gets caught in an abdominal stretch. Styles eventually breaks out of the abdominal stretch, but immediately gets flapjacked onto the top rope. Daniels then continues to work over the ribs and back and goes for a back suplex, which Styles actually reverses and then hits a handspring back elbow, which I thought was a really cool move to pull out. He kind of did the Tajiri kind of handspring elbow off the ropes. I thought that was really cool. Daniels then is up first after this move, but Styles actually hits some big kicks and some big forearms, and then does a little fireman's carry onto the knee. I thought that was a pretty brutal looking spot. He then nails the phenomenal forearm, but I think he only gets 2 off of that. Daniels then ducks another discus clothesline and actually hits Styles with one of his own inverted DDTs, kind of the move that Styles does. So it was kind of cool to see somebody else hit that on Styles because he always usually does that in all of his matches. So it's cool to see somebody else pull that one out. But Daniels then gets him back up and hits a Blue Thunder Bomb, but that only gets 2 as well. So Daniels is really trying to get that second fall, kind of trying to put it out of reach for Styles. But they both trade suplex attempts, and it leads to eventually to AJ nailing the Pele kick out of nowhere. Which that's when Don West just goes in like overdrive mode. He loses his mind when he hits that Pele kick. But back on their feet, Styles starts to really nail some rapid fire punches and goes off the rope. But Daniels catches him and nails a Samoan drop. Daniels then goes for the best moonsault ever, but actually ends up landing on his feet. Styles then nails a roll through German, which I thought was really cool, and goes for a back suplex, but it actually gets reversed. Daniels then goes for the last rights, but Styles actually breaks out of that as well and hits an Angel's Wings of his own. So he stole Daniels' move, kind of like Daniels had stole Styles' move. But Styles only gets 2 on the Angel's Wings. Styles then starts to go for the Styles Clash, but Daniels runs him into the corner Daniels then goes for a back suplex, which Styles turns into a schoolboy roll up, and he actually gets a fall with that. So he gets a schoolboy to get the second fall, kind of out of nowhere. But I'll just continue through the rest of the match. After that fall, Daniels immediately nails Styles with a clothesline and knocks him to the outside. He rams him into head first into the ring post, which was an absolutely brutal sounding spot because it was a sick thud when his head hit the post. But AJ's bleeding after that. He's bleeding pretty profusely. But Daniels then rolls him back into the ring and tries to pin him, but only gets 2. He starts nailing some pretty vicious headbutts and strikes to the wound on his head. Daniels then nails a big STO, but that still only gets 2. More repeated strikes to the head, another 2 count. An Angel's Wings attempt is blocked, but they actually kind of act like he can't pick him up because Styles is so weak. Styles breaks out and starts nailing some big punches. After this, with 40 seconds to go, Daniels locks in the Koji clutch, which is kind of a submission that he had learned over in Japan, they said. But AJ actually lasts the entire time to actually make it through the 30 minutes with a tie. But Daniels immediately grabs the mic and says he wants sudden death. And, of course, Dusty comes out and says, if you want sudden death, you got it. Daniels then continues his onslaught. Daniels then puts AJ on the top rope and goes for a Hurricane Rana, but Styles actually blocks it. He then uses a Hurricane Rana to kind of transition through that move, and then he actually picks him up and hits the Styles Clash, and he wins in overtime and retains his title. Jake, what do you think of the second half, and what do you think of the match overall?
Yeah, so I like how Daniels stayed in control. Like, they didn't just completely flip the momentum just because they did the first fall. Like, he stayed in control. I liked him continuing to work the midsection because it made sense for the match, because it's kind of a match based on stamina, so he's trying to kill the stamina by wearing out his ribs and stuff. So I did enjoy that. Like you said, Logan, when AJ hits the post, I did like the roll up, by the way. I thought that was a nice little babyface move. And I also like that they tied it up with a decent amount of time to go rather than tie it up. You know, if we are going to do the whole draw thing, sudden death, I'm glad they didn't have AJ get the tying fall in the last minute. I like that they did it with about 5 minutes or so there's still a little bit of drama to see, well, somebody can still win it. So I did enjoy that. But yeah, his blade job looked really good. The only thing I didn't like is I wish the ref would have counted him, because it is an Iron Man match. You could that could count as a fall, because TNA and all are trying to cover it by saying, well, you can't win the title or whatever on a count out, but in Iron Man it's by the fall, so you can get a count out fall, which I thought it would have just added some drama. It's just, the TNA refs being TNA refs, not being on their shit. I would have liked a little more urgency from Daniels. I know they're trying to get over that he's like cocky and he wants to brag and all that stuff, but I would have liked a little more urgency from him and not wasting. He wasted a little bit of time. Again, more awesome strikes, and the image of AJ bleeding on the Daniels knee pad was really awesome. I think it was his. It was his knee pad. He was bleeding all over his knee pad. That was a cool image. Daniels being a freak, licking the blood and stuff was pretty cool. At one point, but the draw thing, I'm sure that's what we're going to get to. The only thing, I mean, it's not the most creative thing in the world, but I think the match was worked super well. Like, it was tight. They had a nice variation of stuff. It had pretty, aside from a few nitpicky things, it had pretty good storytelling in the way they worked it. The only thing I didn't love, I wished AJ would have, if he is going to win in the overtime period or whatever, the sudden death, I kind of wished he would have went away from the Styles Clash, because it is such a physically, it takes so much of him to do it. I feel like he should have found some other way to, I don't know. I didn't totally buy. It's a nitpicky thing. It didn't kill the match for me, but I didn't feel like he should be able to pull off the Styles Clash given how much he's been through. I feel like he should have to do something that he could spring off a little quicker. Not somewhere he has to cut pick a guy up and everything, just because he's been through so much, and he could sell that he doesn't have the stamina for it and he has to, some other way to win. But that's just nitpicky. I thought it was an awesome match. I went 4 on it. I thought it was an awesome war. It really felt like they were really good showcase, and show that these two guys could do a longer match that's not, just a bunch of high spots or whatever, in case anybody thought that's all they were.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I do think in the overtime period, not that it needed to go much longer than it did, but like I feel like they could have done a little bit more in that overtime period because, as the regulation or whatever you want to call it ends, like he has him like passed out. So like if the ref had actually done his job and checked the hand and everything to make sure he was passed out, Daniels probably actually would have won the title. So Styles didn't really sell that as much as I would have probably liked him to, but I know that they had already had a 30-minute match, so they need to get to the finish at the same time. So, Ben, what do you think?
So I've got the exact point where Mike and Don's commentary annoyed me the most during the show, or the breaking point. So it was when Daniel had AJ in that abdominal stretch, and they're saying like I can't remember the exact line. I didn't make a note of the exact line, but they're basically going on and on and on about how AJ's like should be desperate. He's desperate. He's literally one fall down and there's 13 minutes left. It's not like he's one fall down with 30 seconds to go. You know what I mean? So just let it breathe, boys. Just calm the fuck down and we'll be. I know Jake didn't like Daniels' using the time. I did, and then because in his head he must have known, like in his head it was like an unwritten thing where he thought it was going to go to overtime, or he thought, that it was going to be tie goes to the champion. So when it was 1-0, he was quite happy to swallow the clock. But then as soon as AJ gets that pinfall, that's when he turns into a vicious motherfucker. And that image of the Koji clutch, them last 30, 40 seconds is amazing. And yeah, I'm with, and like, I think the better thing would have been like that to have been the submission, and because AJ didn't win the match, AJ survived the match. That's what happened, and I went 3 3/4 on it.
Gotcha. Lewis, what'd you think?
Yeah, he survived the match against all odds.
I see what you did.
No, I would die on the hill that Daniels won that match because AJ's eyes were fully closed and he was knocked out with like 10 seconds left in that Koji clutch. So Daniels won that match. But overall, yeah, it was fantastic. I also feel fine giving that match 4 stars because it was definitely well above an average match. Nowhere close to like 5-star perfection, but it was a really good match. I'm also on that side. Like AJ shouldn't have won with the Styles Clash because he was like beaten, bloodied. It should have been some other last second thing where he just pulled something out like a springboard or some other kind of roll up to win, or even like do a moonsault like Daniels does. But the Styles Clash did feel a little out of place there.
Yeah, I got you. Jenny, what did you think of this Iron Man match?
Okay, so yeah, the image of the bloodied AJ it wrapped up in that clutch was pretty fucking awesome. His face was legit purple. He looked like Don West. And but yeah, I mean,
we can only assume.
Yeah. So yeah, that I would agree that Daniels won that match, and I was relieved though to not have a time limit draw. Quite relieved when he insisted on the sudden death, which I think is awesome. I think no way should you ever have a time limit draw. Anyway,
correct.
The Clash. See, now that's interesting that you guys brought that up because as much as I do love that move, I had the same note that the Clash was like he could barely even get it together. Daniels had to basically feed himself into it. Like it was not convincing, and not in the way that you want that finisher to be convincing. So, but still, I mean, it's fucking like you said, a war and awesome stuff by both of these guys. I love the blood. 3 3/4 stars.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go with Jake. I went 4 stars on it. I thought it was like I said, an absolute war. I love the sudden death. I kind of wish it had lasted a little bit longer. And like y'all, the Styles Clash at that point in the match with him bleeding and just being completely worn out after 30 minutes is kind of less believable. So maybe if he had hit, maybe stolen another one of Daniel's finishers and hit the best moonsault ever or something.
Or like another Pele kick would have been pretty sweet. Desperation Pele kick. to knock him out.
Yeah. Just some other brutal kind of move that doesn't revolve around him like lifting the guy that he's obviously can't lift at that point. But yeah, I went 4 stars on it. Thought it was great.
And we talked about this in the group chat. I think the biggest disservice to this match was making it the Iron Man match. If this was a 2 out of 3 falls match, I feel like that would have fit this a lot better because they don't really have a rivalry to this point where the Iron Man match was warranted. So that kind of hurt it a little bit, having such a big stipulation on just a match.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that way about a lot of Iron Man matches. That's kind of what we talked about in our group chat today. Like, a lot of matches that are Iron Man matches don't really warrant it. There's just kind of some way to kind of extend the storyline, especially in like modern day WWE now. But a lot of those matches could like benefit from just being 30-minute matches, but like being 2 out of 3 falls or something like that. If they could just wrestle for 30 minutes and, just have something like that, especially if it's going to be 3 falls like this ended up being, it was 2-1. That was the final score. So, you just don't put that time limit restriction on it because it makes the commentators go absolutely batshit anytime anything goes crazy, and it makes them kind of oversell it. So, but yeah, the Iron Man stipulation just kind of is a wonky one. I enjoy some of them, but it's a lot of the time it's just kind of makes the match kind of not make as much sense as it could have. But yeah, like I said, this one's a war. Daniels and Styles are 2 of the best to ever do it. So 4 stars for me. But after this match, we go to the back. We have Jarrett come out of his locker room. He asks his lawyer if he got the job done and got the stipulation changed. And he says no, that he hadn't, that he tried everything he could, which is absolutely not true. He kind of just bitched over whenever Dusty said that wasn't going to change. But Jarrett says he'll take matters into his own hands, and by any means necessary, he's going to walk away with the title. But we'll go straight in from there and go into our main event, and it's going to be Kevin Nash versus Jeff Jarrett. They show a little video package before it, like all the other matches, which was a great way to kind of catch you up. But they do the bullet points because this is a world title match. The first one is Nash says that the NWA title will equal cash. Just kind of talking about how being the champion gets you the most money, and that's kind of Nash's motivation. By any means necessary is the second one. It's kind of talking about what Jarrett just said. He's going to win by any means necessary. He's going to do whatever he has to do to keep the title. And the last one is the guitar, kind of talking about how if Jarrett uses it, he's going to lose the title and he's going to automatically be disqualified. But to start the match, there's a lot of stalling by Jarrett. He kind of, wants to avoid anything to do with Nash kind of going at him. Nash eventually catches him with some big strikes. He hits some really big strikes to start the match, gets him in the corner, nails his big knees and elbows that he does. The Nash gets distracted by the ref at one point, and Jarrett actually goes for the knee because that's kind of been the storyline going into this, that Jarrett's going to wear down the knee because he's had so many surgeries on his knee. I think they say it like 15 times. He's had 14 surgeries on his knee, not 9 on one and 4 or 5 on the other or whatever. But Nash reverses a whip and a clothesline into the corner, and then clotheslines Jarrett over the top rope. Nash then follows him to the outside and really takes it to Jarrett. They get back in the ring for a second, and Jarrett kind of kicks him back in the knee and then starts hitting some heavy strikes on the knees. Jarrett then eventually goes off the ropes, and Nash actually sidesteps him and chucks him to the outside. They then battle into the crowd and even go backstage where the overflow crowd is. I used heavy quotation marks on that one. But Nash ends up just kicking the shit out of Jarrett in the back and actually throws him into what I called the catering table, which was like the saddest little table with like 3 or 4 things of food on it. So it was a very sad little catering area that TNA had back there. But Nash then uses a chair to kind of bludgeon Jarrett, and he chokes him with it. They then battle back into the arena. Nash exposes the concrete, but Jarrett actually gets a low blow in on him right in front of the ref. But no disqualification is called. So, they've been breaking the rules the whole time. So apparently there's no disqualifications in this match. You just can't use the guitar. But while Nash is down, Jarrett brings out this giant case, and inside he has a cello. So to work around the guitar spot, he actually gets another instrument, and he has a cello, and he goes to use it, and it actually falls apart. So this actually might win the Great Value Award for the night, because this is a Great Value cello, because it absolutely just crumbles when he starts to bring it out of the case. But he eventually grabs the top part and kind of drives it into Nash's knee to kind of wear it down a little bit more. He then puts Nash in the ring and kind of wraps his knee around the post a couple of times. Jarrett then uses the case, which is like made of duffel bag material, so this would in no way hurt at all. So I don't really know what he was going for. But he even slams it around his knee, so it apparently hurts and hurts Nash pretty bad. So Jarrett then continues to the knee work and locks in the figure 4. Nash eventually gets to the ropes and Jarrett breaks, but he continues to work the knee, just wrenching it around and really, really bending it in the wrong direction. Nash then breaks out by constantly dropping the leg across Jarrett's head, kind of bashing him with his leg to break out of the submission. Nash then nails a big boot and a sidewalk slam. He then hits the snake eyes and then goes for it once again, but Jarrett actually slinks out and chop blocks him. Jarrett then gets the cello again, but gets low blowed. Nash then grabs it, but Rudy Charles actually won't let him use it, even though Jarrett used it earlier. So he kind of drops it and goes for the jackknife, but while kind of hoisting him up in the powerbomb, he takes out the ref. So then he ends up actually hitting the jackknife powerbomb onto the cello, but there's no one to count. Out of nowhere, Billy Gunn comes from the crowd and nails Nash with a chair. But Nash actually kicks out at 2 once Rudy Charles recovers. Rudy Charles is still kind of selling the shot from the powerbomb earlier. And then Six Pac comes out and actually ends up helping Nash. And he hits the Bronco Buster and the X Factor on Jarrett. Nash then covers Jarrett, but he kicks out at 2 as well. Gunn then grabs the belt. But BG James actually comes out and takes it away from his old partner in WWE. Nash then takes out Gunn. Jarrett then grabs the belt and uses it, but again only gets 2. He then hits the stroke and again only gets 2. Jarrett goes up to the top, but actually gets caught in a choke slam. But he kind of knocks the ref away and hits yet another low blow, and then he finally hits one final stroke, and that gets him the win. So, Jake, what did you think of this main event?
All right.
Oh, that finish was a fucking mess. I'll just say it.
Yeah. So the cello thing, it's like so goofy. Like it's so ridiculous, and it obviously falls like they had to have the most gimmick cello because like a cello is like an insanely big instrument. Like it's a huge instrument. Like if you hit somebody with a cello, like Jeff Jarrett wouldn't be able to pick up a cello to hit somebody with it. It would be too heavy. But it's just the stupidest like goofball way to get around the stip. Like, it's like what a kid would do or something. Like, oh, you said I can't use a guitar? Well, here's a cello. It's so dumb. And then like you said, the no DQ just not established at all. But then the stupid refs are taking it away from Nash for no apparent reason. Like, it's like he's just reached his limit. He's like, wait, now you can't use the cello. So, and the thing about this match is like they look like they were like Nash looked pretty motivated in the beginning. Like they're going for a pretty standard, like, oh, he's gonna go after his knees, like. But they just, it's like they go to the well too much. Like, you got to go in the crowd and then go in the concession stand thing. You got to have the cello. You got to have 40 million run. It's just like too much bullshit. Like, can't we just pick maybe a few bullshit things to do? Why do you have to do all of them? Why do you have to have like 5 run-ins? Why can't you just have 1 or 2? Like, it's just too much. It just derails the match. You just feel like you're not really watching a match anymore. You're just waiting for, oh, let's see what the next thing that's going to come in and do. And then Jarrett wins again. It's just, I don't know. Like, it was kind of entertaining just in how much nonsense was happening. But it just you kind of just lose focus on it because X-Pac with his, like, ridiculous outfit. He looked
Those
like
pants were insane.
Did you ever watch have any of you ever seen the Pickup Artist that used to play on VH1? That's what he looked like.
Yeah.
That guy who would wear like leopard cowboy hats and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what that clock looked like. But just, and like we have no idea what any of these people's motivations are. It's just like they want us to just get excited because like, hey, I know that guy, and so that's supposed to make me entertained just because like, hey, I've seen X-Pac before, I've seen Billy Gunn, so this is cool. And it's like, Not really. Like, I don't know why they're here. I don't know what their motivation is. It's just too much. I want a star and a half just because the beginning was all right. And there's there's some pretty entertaining nonsense through it, but it's just, I don't know. It's just a fucking mess.
They really had me, and then they brought out the cello and just fucking ruined the match.
Yeah.
So
Like, it was going okay. It was like,
yeah. I love the brawl. I love them going around the arena, and then they brought out the fucking cello, and everything just fell apart and was awful after that. Ben, what'd you think?
So, quick question. I can't remember if you mentioned it in the last episode. Can anybody explain to me why Kevin Nash is a face in all this? Because he's literally, he's just going on about money, and he's facing this guy who's so proud to be the NWA champion and is going all around the world. But, oh yeah, I know why. Because it's fucking Jarrett and he sucks. That's why. Yeah.
And he dyed his hair to good guy color hair.
Yeah, this is just typical Jarrett Gaga, just like Jake says, it's no DQ anyway. Just have a brawl around the ring. There's no need for all the the going backstage, and the cello bit is spectacular. Yeah, I love it, and I love it for all the wrong reasons. As for the run-ins, yes, you've got X-Pac's ridiculous pants. You've also got that wonderful T-shirt that Billy Gunn wore just to remind you about Mr. Ass. That was lovely. 99 called again. And then, of course, you've got when BG comes out and Mike decides to shout about that group known as DX. That group, because they're such a they're like the Truth Commission. You kind of forget about them. They're kind of small league, But yeah, I went 1.5 for the whole thing because it was just, Sean, as Sean Kidd would say, it's literally just punches and kicks.
Mm-hmm. Jake, what'd you go on it? I don't know if I heard you say it.
I went a star and a half, same as Ben.
Yeah, I got you. All right, Lewis, what'd you think?
It was a little more guilty pleasure for me. Like, I enjoy Kevin Nash a lot, and so I had a little more enjoyable time watching the match, even through all the stupidity that happened around it. I definitely feel like Scott Hall leaving was why this ending was so stupid. I guarantee you what they wanted to eventually have was NWO versus DX, which is why they brought these guys in. But with Hall leaving, they had Billy Kidd here and they had X-Pac here, and they're like, well, we have to have them do something. Let's have them both interfere in the main event. So they had to work around Hall leaving this way. But have one of them debut tonight and then the other on Impact later. There's no reason for both of them to interfere in this match. It just adds too much confusion into it. On top of that, also having BG James turn on Billy Gunn. I keep calling Billy Kidd. Billy Gunn. That's also just needlessly random because we don't know why. It's back to the DDP Raven stuff. Hey, why do these two guys hate each other? There's no actual explanation going on. So I gave it 2 stars. I was a little more high on the match than y'all seem to have been, just because I like Kevin Nash that much. But yeah, it's not a good match by any means. There's way too much just goofiness.
Yeah, when Gunn gets involved, it just needed to end. Then, X-Pac can come out later and kind of
there were 4 needless near falls at the end of the match where it should have been Jeff Jarrett blasts Nash with the title after a Gunn distraction for a 1, 2, 3. You don't need the other 3 near falls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, I agree with you. Jenny, what do you think?
So, there's some stuff in here, like Lewis said, that maybe a little bit guilty pleasure, like the food table spot. It was just really conveniently located, right in the middle of the hallway where all the people were standing there, the overflow. It just seemed like the perfect spot to set up some catering. But, it looked kind of dinky, but was fun to see the food fly everywhere. Also fun to see Jeff Jarrett's face covered with blood. I will say I do like that. And I do like me some Kevin Nash. He just does Kevin Nash things. It's it's fine. I mean, it's really fine. But they lost me at the end. I mean, the cello thing, I was losing it. But they lost me at the end with weird near falls and then weird pants coming in. And I'm like, everybody's popping for this guy and popping for this
Weird
guy.
pants.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, nobody's shocked. I mean, this is what happens in TNA. Like, you just get these random run-ins at the ends of shows, like on every single pay-per-view, I guess. But so I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna do a 1 3/4.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna agree with Ben and Jake. I'm gonna go 1.5 on it. Yeah, I like Nash, and like I said, they had me at the very beginning. The match was a brawl. It was going around the arena. Jeff was working the leg like he should have, but the cello came out, and it just fell apart after that. The literally the cello fell apart, but the match also fell apart as well. But yeah, I'll go 1.5 like those guys, and yeah, just too much interference at the end. It could have ended like 3 moves before it did, kind of like Lewis said. So. Just another Jarrett. Go ahead.
It's not even like creative interference, I think, too, is the problem.
Yeah.
It's just like they literally just run in, hit a move, and leave. Like,
they look like
there's nothing real interesting, you know?
Yeah. And they look like goofs because it doesn't work. Like, interference, if you're going to interfere, it's supposed to fucking work.
Right.
I
want to put that blame on Scott Hall.
Yeah, it's like
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it's Scott Hall's fault for leaving.
Yeah, it's all Scott Hall's fault. Yeah, he's gone now, so we can blame everything on him.
Nice.
I'm blaming Jarrett.
Yeah, I'm still blaming Jarrett because Jarrett's title hog and can't get rid of it. I'm not saying Nash is a guy that should beat him, but like he needs to lose the belt soon, and I know that that's not what happens, so I'm kind of pissed about it. But Jenny, I'll stick with you. What did you think of the pay-per-view as a whole, and what would you score it out of 10?
Okay. It's too long. I mean, oh my God. 2 hours and 50 minutes. No. So I like the video packages a lot. I think we mentioned that at least once, but that really did help. They were well done, well put together. I mean, they're kind of cheesy over the top, but that's fine. But it really did help bring, me up to speed on these feuds and what's happening. So I really did appreciate it. The matches just kind of all over the place. I mean, for the most part, decent to very good with a couple of stinkers in there. So it's a mixture. I'm going to go probably 6 out of 10 on the show.
Yeah, I got you. I think that's a pretty fair rating for sure. But Lewis, what would you think on the show as a whole, and what would you score it?
I think for the most part, the matches are very average. We did have like 2 above average matches, and the Iron Man match definitely stands out as the match of the night. But as far as like backstage stuff and character development, I don't think any of that happened in this pay-per-view. So I'm going to go right down the middle and give it 5 out of 10 stars.
Gotcha. Ben, what'd you think?
I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to go 5.5 out of 10 because for every pretty good AMW tag match, for every pretty good Iron Man match, you had, Hammond Mania 05 and that shit show of a main event. And and there's nothing else really that was saving it. Even with my liking of Full Metal Mayhem, it doesn't save it from being just slightly above average.
Yeah, I got you. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm right down the middle. To me, it was almost like a one-match show because even this, a lot of stuff that was pretty solid was just kind of there. It wasn't really anything with any kind of stakes or anything. Like even the Monty match, I mean, it was cool, but it really wasn't. It wasn't much to it. It did seem like a step back because they've actually, even though we haven't liked the Impacts very much, they've been kind of hitting pretty good on these pay-per-views, and this kind of felt like a step back. It felt like they focused too much on like your kind of older guys like Raven and Dustin and that, and kind of all the other guys are taking a step back aside from AJ and Daniels. It kind of seemed like the rest of the roster's kind of been put in the back burner. I think it hurt the show compared to the last few that we've seen, because we've seen some pretty good pay-per-views actually in the last few months. So a little disappointing.
I will say real quick before we wrap that up that I like the look of the show. I like the shape of the ring, which is unusual, for me. I don't usually get to see that. And I like the camera work from the back of the tunnel and how they show them emerging from the tunnel. And all the smoke, the lasers, and the presentation. It looks fun. Like it's a fun looking show, and also commentary actively heard it.
Yeah. West and TNA were fairly bad all night. I'll definitely agree with you there. But yeah, I completely forgot you've never seen the six-sided ring, so
right.
I forgot to ask about that earlier. But I think they're really good at that kind of stuff, like you're talking about, like showing the tunnels, them coming out, and kind of doing the smoke and the lasers and all that kind of stuff. Even after their very first show, they had a pyro thing go off at the beginning of the show, and it was really great value looking. But ever since then, they even do pretty good pyro. So, but yeah, the presentation, the video packages, all that stuff, they've got that stuff down. And like Jake said, most of the pay-per-views we've watched since we kind of gotten out of the monthly ones have been pretty good, or middling to or above average to really great. We've had quite a few good shows so far. But yeah, I'm kind of with Ben. I think I'd go 5.5 out of 10. I think it was a little above average, but there was a lot of stinky stuff in there. But the Iron Man match, and I enjoyed Full Metal Mayhem pretty good. So I think it was a fairly good show, but it's definitely in the lower tier of what we've watched so far. But we'll go on to our awards from here. I'll stick with Jake. Who did you have as your MVP for tonight?
MVP, I think I'm going to go with AJ pretty easily, because I think I was a little more impressed with him in the Iron Man.
I got you. Ben, who'd you have as your MVP?
I'm gonna go for Abyss, because I expected AJ and Daniels to be pretty damn good, and I wasn't expecting to see a good match out of Jeff Hardy, and I think that's all down to Abyss. So I'm going with Abyss.
Yeah, don't give any credit to Hardy. I'm just playing. Lewis, who'd you have as your MVP?
I also want to give it to Abyss for winning the Full Metal Mayhem and a shot at Jarrett in the future.
Gotcha. Jenny, who was your MVP?
I'm going to go AJ on this one.
Yeah, I kind of copped out. I went with AJ and Daniels. I thought they really busted their ass, and they were both really great in that one. I'll give it to Daniels since everybody else gave it to AJ. But I thought both guys were really great in that match.
And Daniels won the match.
Yeah, I was saying Daniels technically won the match, right? Jenny, who'd you have as your LVP?
Oh boy. So I'm gonna go Jeff Hammond on this. Can I do that?
Yeah, that's
okay.
All right.
He's definitely the least valuable player for sure.
Yes.
Lewis, what'd you have as LVP?
I'm actually going to give it to Team Canada, because for the second pay-per-view in a row, they've all lost their matches.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Ben, who's your LVP?
Jarrett. Absolutely. Just get off, please.
Jake, who's your LVP?
Jeff Hammond, for sure.
Yeah, I got to go with Hammond. He was pretty worthless in that match, and he has no business being in the ring at any point, or at this point for sure.
He's in a celebrity match, and he's not a celebrity, so it's not good.
Plus, he shafted us on an interview, so
fuck that guy.
Piece of shit.
Match of the night, I'm going to assume everybody picked the Iron Man match. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Moment of the night. Jake, what'd you have for moment of the night?
I think I'm going to go with Don saying that that Dustin's leg was asleep. No, I'll probably go with AJ hitting the post in that blade job. I thought it was no, him in the Koji clutch. Sorry, bleeding. Yeah, that was the best.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Ben, what would you have as moment of the night?
I would either go for that or the Greco-Roman throw by Abyss with a flat back bump.
Oh yeah, that was pretty brutal. Lewis, what'd you have?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with that image of the Koji clutch and AJ's blood just dripping down on Daniels' knee pad.
Yeah, I got you. Jenny, what'd you have?
Well, I think hands down it's got to be when Jeff Hardy climbs the ladder for an empty envelope.
Yeah, that's a good one, definitely.
Metaphor.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm gonna go with the Koji clutch too. That was a good image to see AJ kind of pass out and be a bloody mess, kind of when that was going on. So I like that for sure. Express lane, Jake, who'd you have in your express lane?
I'm gonna go with my main one will be Daniels because I think he showed that he's fully established himself as a singles guy and can hold up as a top X division guy after he's left Triple X. I mean, the others would be kind of our typical guys that we have in there. Not too many people out of the ordinary. I mean, AMW, but they're kind of always awesome.
Yeah, I got you.
AJ, etc.
Yeah, I got you. Ben, who you have in your express lane?
AJ and AMW are always on the express lane, like Jake says. So I'm also going to go with Daniels because this match he proved he was the equal of AJ. You know, he was the driving force behind that match. And I know I keep saying it, but I am going to shine a little love on Mr. Nero and Abyss as well.
I got you. Lewis, who'd you have in your express lane tonight?
I'm actually going to give it to Skipper for beating Petey Williams, one of the more recent X Division champs, and getting himself most likely into that Ultimate X match.
Yeah, I got you. Jenny, who would you have? Who did you think looked like they were trending up tonight? Who would you have in your express lane?
Kind of echoing you guys. AMW, Daniels, and Abyss.
Yeah, I got you. I'm definitely going to go with Daniels and Abyss. Daniels, obviously, like we said, seemed to almost seemed like he won the match a little bit because it seemed like AJ passed out and Abyss really showed out and got himself a world title match. But Jenny, I'll stick with you. Exit lane, who do you think was kind of like trending down, or who did you think looked really bad tonight?
Jeff Jarrett. I would go also BG James. And Dustin and Raven, sadly.
Yeah, I got you. Lewis.
Probably, like I said with my least value player, Team Canada. They're really starting to trend down. Something needs to change or happen with them.
Gotcha. Ben, what do you think on exit lane?
I'm not going to be quite as bad as Sean, but Jarrett. Dustin and Raven, like I say, just terrible match. Just, for two guys with that experience, it should be a lot better. And sadly on the exit lane is going to be Kaz. And as always, fuck Conan.
He didn't even do anything there. His presence was felt, so. Jake, who'd you have in your exit lane?
Yeah, pretty much all the same. I don't have anybody new, the same cast of characters. But I'm going to not put Jeff Hardy, who's normally in there, because he was okay tonight.
There you go. Yeah, Jarrett's the absolute one that absolutely has to be in there. And Dustin and Raven, like I said, that match was kind of rough. So definitely those two guys deserve to be in there as well. Our Great Value Award, Jake, who'd you have as your Great Value of the night?
I'm going to go with that Great Value cello that was made of sawdust.
Yes.
Ben, what was your Great Value?
I've got two. I've kind of figured out where the wail at the beginning of the Dustin Rhodes music, what it's finally reminding me of, and it's Great Value Sloth from the Goonies. That's exactly what it is. And my other one is Billy. That's it. The other one is Billy Gunn as Great Value Mr. Ass from 1999. He's copying himself. He's a man formerly known as Billy Gunn. He's not fucking Prince.
Lewis, who did you have as your Great Value tonight?
With that legal advice, I'm going to give Jeff Jarrett's lawyer the Great Value Rudy Giuliani of the night.
Jenny, who'd you have as your Great Value?
I thought I had another note here, but it wasn't as good as the cello, so I'm going cello.
Yeah, definitely great value cello. If I was going with a thing, if I was going with a person, I'd go with the narrator as great value Mufasa / James Earl Jones.
Oh yes.
We have a Larry's great value Ghost Rider, generic Ghost Rider shirt in the opening.
That was pretty brutal as well. But I want to thank Jenny for being on the show with us. We really appreciate you coming on, do this show with us. And do you have anything you would like to plug tonight?
Well, thank you guys. I had a blast. I can't believe it took 28 fucking episodes to get me on this show, but I do subject myself to my own TNA show, so I guess that's good enough.
I didn't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My TNA show is called TNA Never Dies. It is on the North-South Connection podcast feed. We just had a little bit of a scheduling issue, but we're back very soon with new episodes. And also very soon returning to that feed will be the Extreme Three-Way Dance going through ECW. That will be coming back in August. So excited about that one. And then right here on the Place to Be Nation, you can hear me on PTB NXT and talking WCW.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just saying, listen to all of Jenny's shows because they're all great, and she's awesome on all of them. So definitely listen to all those. I could be nice.
And sometimes. Twitter, at Jenny Physician on Twitter.
Yeah, I know I can be a dick on the Saturday night calls, but I'm mostly nice some of the time.
Mostly nice until you're savage.
mostly nice sometimes.
Yeah.
That's Lewis's appraisal for next year.
Ben, what do you have to plug?
I'll plug the shows that we don't do together, Logan. There's a new episode of the Special Relations out this weekend. British internet strikes all three of us. It's a shit show / great listen, depending on how you feel. And there's also on the Place to Be Nation pop feed a new episode of Telling Tea with me and the wonderful Miranda. And you can catch me on Twitter at BenL1981.
All right, Jake, what do you have to plug tonight?
Well, real quick, I want to ask Jenny Jenny, does this have you looking forward to the next 40 episodes of TNA Never Die? Seeing where you're going to end up and that maybe nothing's going to change.
I'm looking forward to the six-sided ring. Like, I like that. I think it looks cool. And but I mean, I just got to Raven's debut, and I was excited about that. But now, listen.
You're second guessing it.
Yeah.
Well, you get CM Punk and Raven coming up.
Yeah, true. And the Dusty stuff looks like fun Dusty stuff. So
yeah,
it's mixed as always.
Yeah, I was just say Dusty's kind of rough for a little bit, but he eventually kind of stops being the main focus on TV, so he ends up working out.
Yeah. But once Russo leaves, but anyway, yeah. Jenny said we have PTB NXT, which we just recorded a new one, so that'll be out pretty soon. And you can catch me on the Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast on the North South feed. I recently did Unforgiven 2002, so check it out.
I got you. And I just listened to the latest Grooney episode on that one, and I was laughing because he would ask you what your score rating was on something, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, I didn't think it was that good." So
yeah, he's a brutal rater. He's a tough judge.
Yeah, fucking savage on that show for sure. But Ben, I implied that we have a lot of shows together, which we do. We have Chicken Salad Wrestling. We did Great American Bash 1999 on our last episode, and I believe we're doing Bash at the Beach 2000 for our next one. We do wrestling or the Popcorn Chicken Salad as well. We just watched Top Gun, and we obliterated the female lead in that movie for almost the entire 2 hours that the movie lasts. So that was a ton of fun. I think we're doing Euro Trip on the next one of those, so that one should be fun as well. And from Squared Circle to the Silver Screen, me and Roger just did Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey, when he kind of played Andy Kaufman and lived out, or kind of showed what Andy Kaufman's life as a stand-up comedian was like. So that was a very interesting movie, and we had some interesting takes for sure.
Such a good movie.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, like I said, I appreciate Jenny coming on, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for watching our cover of Africa with our friends from the amazing Dover Quartet.
We were so excited to work with Dover again. We've said this before, they're one of the greatest string quartets in the world, and we had so much fun working with them. While they were in the studio, we also had them play Boreden's famous Nocturne. It's an incredibly beautiful piece of music, and they played the heck out of it. It's so good, you have to check out that video. We'll put a link for it right here. It's over on our Brooklyn Classical channel.
And don't forget to like and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so that you can find out whenever we have a new video. Thanks guys.